going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check. This is a podcast that I've wanted to do for a heck of a long time, and that is Jake fucking DeMarco. What's going on, sir?
What's going on, my friend? Here to talk about quite the topic, something that you have had floating around literally
On
forever
my
now.
desk for a couple of
Yes,
months.
it's been on my sticky notes on my desktop for some time also, ever
Sad
since
thing
you
is,
brought
those
it up.
didn't used to be sticky notes.
Damn desktop. It just keeps getting coated. Eventually, I got to get a new monitor. Maybe they have ones with built-in, like, windshield wipers, but it would
That's
be a
really gross.
wiper. But
Absolutely.
regardless, we'll talk about business ideas later.
You'd have to go
I'm
back
very
to
excited.
NXT and start swiping right. Anyways,
Ah,
guys, if you haven't seen the thumbnail, if you haven't read the title, and if you're just not paying attention to what me and Jake say on a regular basis, in general, we've been saying we're going to do this for a while. This is, I'd like to say, sort of the definitive conversation about the Judgment Day, and I think right now is a pretty peak time to do it, as it seems like we're coming to the tail end of the faction. The way I explained it to Jake is the way I'll explain it to all of you guys. I'm basically going to make the case here, and Jake's going to sort of come along for the ride because I think he agrees with me for the most part, that the Judgment Day, more than any other faction in recent memory, including the Bloodline, is absolutely WWE's star factory. Now, does that mean that they took a bunch of people that nobody knew about and make them stars out of nowhere? No. But this is the filter that the majority of the big stars in WWE, not named Roman Reigns, Finn Balor, or sorry, not named Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, or CM Punk, has gone through at one point or another.
I just
So what
want
I
to
have,
filter your idea really quick so people are on
filter
board
the
with
idea
what we're
real quick.
going for. Basically, you're saying that no other faction in recent years or memory has produced stars on a level that they are highly or higher elevated than when they entered.
Hmm.
Essentially, is what we're
Well,
s they
yeah, I want
either
I want to be
left
I want to be careful
or g went
because
off being more than before.
there's people in this group that were already super established, and even they have been given a different task in the development of other people that were still great but not quite there yet. Everybody found a use, everybody found a purpose, everybody's entry, everybody's exit had a purpose, had a point,
An
etc.
argument
And I
that
think
even the elevated were elevated. Absolutely.
even the elevated were elevated for sure, and people that were already at a tip top level and maybe just didn't have anywhere to go at the time found somewhere to go. And I think everybody, but I think more to the point, everybody that's joined and everybody that's left, the joining and the leaving have both had um pretty high impacts on the star themselves and the people around them, and elevated like a ripple effect type of idea. But I think everybody's in a better place than they were before they came into contact with this group, were in this group, etc. Now, I've got the names in order that they joined. This does not mean we're giving an entire breakdown of the history of the group. We're just talking person by person. And if you're going to talk person by person, and I'm not going to talk about Edge because everything after Edge is really the point of the Judgment Day, but we got to start at WrestleMania 38 in Edge's match against AJ Styles when he was assisted by relative newcomer to the main roster, Damian Priest.
Yes.
Now, when you talk about Damian Priest, I want to give like some cold hard like bullet points before we get into talking about each person. But since then, he's become a tag team champion, become a Money in the Bank winner, had the second ever successful WrestleMania cash in, been the world heavyweight champion, had a little bit of a side journey to have an amazing match with Bad Bunny in Puerto Rico, and is currently the number one contender for the tag team champions on SmackDown. What do we think about Damian Priest and where he is right now?
Think about where he came from is certainly to be considered. He was presented in a time that was difficult to be in with everything being shut down and the audience not being there and instead having screens with the Thunderdome and whatnot. NXT wasn't NXT when he was really a full-time part of it. Um, I mean, he started off as a security guard, remember? For Stephanie
I
when she
love those
confronted
pictures
the
that show
Bellas.
when wrestling extras used to be like security guards and like backstage
Yeah.
people. They always caught
So
me.
his most notable moments was being the attacker of Finn Balor and taking the North American Championship eventually, holding that title. I think he lost it to Johnny Gargano at the Halloween Havoc, right? They had that Devil's Playground match. It was like where the
Yes.
tombstones, and that's when we saw Austin
With the
Theory.
literal tombstones, not Undertaker tombstones.
Yes. Austin Theory was revealed as, like, the Scream Man eventually, like, so Damian
Oh
Priest was
god,
kind of
yeah.
the afterthought there, you know? It was Austin Theory all along. "It was me, Austin. It was me all along," he yells. Point being, Damian Priest got looked over, and that kind of epitomized his whole NXT career. He was supposed to be a big deal. Consequences and Punishment Martinez and all that, all these
Mm.
big names coming from Ring of Honor and the indie scene, and instead.
I always forget that he was technically part of All In, like the
Right?
original All before
Mhm.
AEW was a thing. When you go back and you see, oh my god, look at all these people that are now in WWE that used to be in AEW, and then they throw in like Punishment Martinez and Cora Jade and people like that. I remember watching All In because of the curiosity factor before we knew the shit show that AEW would become, and not realizing that it was a thing. And you go back now and you watch it with new context, and it's absolutely amazing. It's amazing
Exactly,
to
and
see because
that's
he has
when you
he has
had.
that weird cool, like, gridded, goatee thing going
Yes.
on.
He was taking
Uh,
on Silas Young and Hangman, Adam Page and Chris Sabin, and, he was going against, Tanahashi and, like, big names,
mhm.
Naito and fucking he was making a big name for himself, Punishment Martinez or Punisher Martinez, whatever the hell they had him as. Then he goes as Damian Martinez, Damian Priest, and we get him Uh, pretty much being an afterthought in NXT the entire time. Even when he won the
I
title and
think
jumped in the hot tub and all that, like, it was a cool moment, but then he did nothing with it past then. So he had this awesome celebratory jumping in with the girls, drinking the bubbly, and
see,
then
here's the funny thing I wanna say, like, I'm
nothing.
I'm glad I'm glad you mentioned the NXT stuff because the way he was presented in NXT is I mean, if you've been listening to my content for any length of time, you know he's the kinda character that would grab my attention. He's got all the flames and all, like, the shades of being, like, the angry goth kid and whatever, but also they leaned into the whole, like, Archer of Infamy thing, the way he made his entrance with the invisible bow and arrow that lit up the Tron and all that, and he had that this is a very generic thing that's used for a lot of wrestlers these days, but he had that sort of like rock star kind of vibe to him. And he had the charisma without the confidence. Like
Yes.
he was very, very outspoken and loudly and charismatic and whatever. Now you see him and he's not as loud and he's not as out there. And like it's going to be a funny comparison, but he speaks quieter now. I mean, unless he's yelling at somebody, but his promos are quiet. His conversations in the back is quiet.
Yeah.
He's got a little bit of Jake the Snake to him in the way he does his promos now.
Yeah.
It's that kind of like quiet monotone, but it makes you lean in, not quiet monotone. I don't give a shit what this guy is saying.
Yeah. No.
But I
Exactly.
liked
So,
the way he was presented on NXT, and obviously he went through that whole period like a lot of people did, where how you were presented on the main roster was kind of a changed or a watered down version. They didn't make him a completely new character, which they were very guilty of at the time. The War Raiders becoming the Viking experience is always the prime example, but it wasn't. You didn't quite know what it was going to be. But then WrestleMania 38 comes around, not a bad time to rebrand yourself, and almost at the time you'd be forgiven to think, oh, here's Edge who's being a heel right now. He's facing AJ. He's got a sidekick. Is he going to be like a disciple kind of thing? Because they
yeah, we didn't
leaned
know.
especially in the early days of the Judgment Day. This is before they even had a name, obviously. They leaned very heavy on the goth side of things, Edge in his chair of opulence or whatever the fuck he was talking about. This is not a shade on Edge, by the way. He's doing his
No,
thing
no,
in
not at
AEW
all.
right now. I hope to see him when they come to Toronto. But I do skip Edge when we talk about the Judgment Day because a great many people have made the case that Judgment Day was cool as soon as Edge left
And
because
the
they
thing was,
kind of
like you
got to
said,
be
it
like
was
dickheads.
heavy into the goth aesthetic with the scales, and they had the AR, entrance stuff at that point in
Yep.
time, so you would see a
Oh, the the
ton of
the
the.
augmented
Yes.
reality. Yeah.
Yes. All the
WWE was
time we would
guilty
see
with that
that.
across the board when you had Roman Reigns walking out between his own legs. It was bad. It was bad.
It was ridiculous
It's
and
another
shouldn't have
example
been.
of, like, you know what? If you got rid of the LED screens and the ring apron was just the ring apron, that would be great.
It would be.
It
And
would be. It would be
instead,
fine.
because I missed the ring apron. They could just have it maybe on the front, I guess, if you needed the
Yep,
full compromise, but as far as that goes, like, come on, really?
yep.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It's the same as, like, my little bugbear about visual things is it happens at smaller shows, it happens for some NXT shows, it happens at a lot of TNA shows, it happens at AEW sometimes as well, but it doesn't work for me in any way, shape, or form is the ring level ramp. I can't
Yes.
tell you why I hate it, but I hate it.
You've mentioned this before, and you are not
Yep,
wrong, and I
yep.
totally agree
It's annoying.
because it's
Especially and
yes.
we're only one entry in, and I've diverted us already, especially if there's a battle royal.
Oh,
Because
absolutely,
if you get chucked out on that side, you haven't been chucked out to the floor, in my opinion.
yeah.
But anyway, Damian Priest, tag team champions with um, Finn Balor. I believe he was tag team champions with somebody else somewhere along the way, winning Money in the Bank. But obviously, the cash in at WrestleMania. The cash in at WrestleMania was awesome because you had that final shot. They did a whole lot in that opening match of night two. Seth Rollins was leaving. Drew McIntyre was the conquering dickhead. He was
Yep.
way too concerned with CM Punk. There was a lot of moving parts, but for all those moving parts to
Yeah, I
be
forgot about that
moving,
because originally you thought he was gonna be concerned with the Judgment Day again because he was the Monday Night Messiah and then changed and like you said, a
yep.
lot of moving parts, a lot of
Rollins
chaos.
went out. Drew was the winner. Drew got fucked over by CM Punk. Those are three cemented main eventers. Whether you like Seth or not, Seth, Drew, and CM Punk are cemented main eventers, right? You
Yes.
didn't think that the one person to rise above that entire scenario would be Damian Priest. Like, you knew he was going to cash in at some point. You knew they were going to try him out as a champion at one point. But that vision of him at the top of the entranceway, it's the only real time where you see the Money in the Bank winner holding their briefcase and the title that they've just won, because it's the one symbolic time where you can hold both items,
Yeah.
I guess. But that was at that time where Judgment Day were at their peak. Everybody had something to hold up. Everybody had a belt. I think at the time, Dominic Mysterio was the North American champion. Was that when he dipped back into NXT for a bit?
Yes,
But
I believe
it was
so.
the height of, like, Judgment Day are the guys, and who's at the head of it? It's Damian Priest, who was, like you say, that guy posing in the hot tub with some hot random extras and Papa H not that long ago. Now he's pulling off Heist of the Century Part 2
Yes,
with this group that's incredibly popular.
exactly.
And he's not what I like about that, and I know I say this a bunch, like, even a bad match can be saved if you can tell the wrestlers are having a good time. You can see a group of people at the top of that stage that are genuinely happy for each other, even though they're playing
Yes.
dickhead heels, even though they're not the good guys. It's one of those times where, like, let the reality kind of seep in, and everybody's kind of happy. We're going to talk about Dominic later on, but when he won the Intercontinental Championship and they told him go back and raise the belt again because they fucking love you, very much like that for the entire group. Went on and did a different sort of task with the Bad Bunny thing,
Yeah.
and
But this works so well, and I don't wanna skip over, the Dominic stuff, and I don't wanna, overstate everything, but
we will get to Dom. Dom's a
no,
long
no,
conversation
I'm
to have.
saying, but right here, the building is in this point in time, Dominic's not working, and I wanna reiterate this as much as
Yeah, yeah.
possible. He's with his dad, and it feels like nepotism at its finest. It's just he's bringing out his little pudgy nephew, it kinda looks like, not his
Mhm.
son, you know what I mean? Like, it didn't feel like Dom, it felt like, Goldberg's son that he kept making him take his
It
shirt
felt
off
like
before he got
Ray
muscles.
Jr.
Yes.
Felt like Ray Jr. Well, by the time that cash in happened, Dom had
Yes.
already joined, and this is why I'm sort of trying to keep it in, like, linear order, but it's
Yes,
gonna fail.
yes.
As soon as I start talking about accomplishments, it's gonna skew the timeline. So this is why I said this
Yeah.
is not a history of the group. But
No.
at that time, by the time he did the cash in, won the championship, everybody around him wasn't a main eventer, but everybody
No.
around him had sort of solidified their place and they worked perfectly as a unit.
Yes.
Separating from that to have what I say, and this is why I credit The Miz a lot, to be credited with you are good enough at what you do that we've got this person from outside trying to do what we do. So see what you can do with them. That's
Yes.
always a separate level of respect from, I guess, the higher ups or whatever. What he did in Puerto Rico with Bad Bunny to the huge pops when you couldn't even hear the music, fucking amazing.
Yes.
Fucking amazing.
They knew their
Now,
role and they knew how to use it
and
as
they shut
such.
their mouth. No, they didn't.
No, but they played the ultimate heels. They knew how to act and
Mhm.
how to soak it up and take their time and when to do certain things, when to get their ass kicked. Like there was a lot of notable
It really is a
intentions.
moment of like sit back and know that this person is going to be over as shit on the night, and it's your job to be part of that.
Abso-freaking-lutely. You nailed that. I don't even know
Now, I will
how to
say,
say it any better.
Now, I will say he's come down from the heights of winning the world title at WrestleMania. There's very, very mixed opinions of, oh, his title reign wasn't that great. I don't necessarily agree. I think he took it seriously. I think he carried it as far as he could, which
Yes.
sounds like a hair ruffle, but it's not. I do, even if it was considered a failure, I do put it in the Jey Uso category of the guy was over his shit. Even if it fell on its face, I wouldn't say go back and don't do it.
Yeah. And
Because right
that's
now, the comparison points are as far as who should be in that spot. As I say once again, your comparison points are Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre, who have how many years of establishment ahead of you, and like
yeah,
to
that's the
even if
thing.
you're on the bottom of the even if you're on the bottom of that list, that's still a pretty prestigious list.
Oh, no doubt. I mean,
And
that's
now
a
to
hell of a list to be a part of.
now to say that he might potentially be picking up the tag team titles on SmackDown with R-Truth, who we're going to talk about later on. It's a matter of we can still take him seriously. His motives and goals are in a different direction.
Yeah.
The working relationship, the chemistry, however you want to say it, between him and R-Truth has sustained far beyond like his part in the Judgment Day, which I think is really cool. Like,
Yes.
this guy drives me nuts, but you know what? He's a good guy. Like
Exactly.
it's a big brother, little brother comparison. And when you consider who I'm calling the big brother out of the two of them, that's really funny.
You nailed it.
I think I don't know whether I want them to win the titles ahead of time and carry them into Mania or whether I want them to win them at Mania.
Yeah, I feel you.
Because there's a separate story to be had on SmackDown that has nothing to do with the Judgment Day. The slow breakdown of Sami Zayn being facilitated by Aleister Black. I think R-Truth, Damian Priest versus Sami Zayn, Aleister Black is a sort of out of nowhere hodgepodge match, but I still want to see it.
Yes.
I I think it's not no now that's two thrown together teams, and I get it, and that's burying the legitimate teams that are on SmackDown. I get that. That's a problem that needs to be addressed. But
Yes. But
you're building on a previous association that comes from the Judgment Day, and even though he's so far removed, it's like I hate to keep making the comparisons to the bloodline, but they're compatriots almost between the two different parts of WWE. Bloodline's not been a thing for a long ass time. CM Punk's feuding with Roman Reigns. We loop the Usos back in, and you don't have to say, "Oh my God, are the Bloodline getting back together?" No, but this is a thing that exists, and these are human beings that exist in each other's lives, and you don't
yeah.
need to explain it to everybody like they're five. Very, very same thing goes with Damian Priest and R-Truth in that regard.
Yes. And
So
here's the thing too with the bloodline. It was never about making any stars whatsoever. It was about protecting Roman Reigns. He never won a title match without someone else being involved. He never won no matter how you want this cookie to crumble, it was always just about Roman. There have been leaders of Judgment Day, yes,
see,
absolutely.
here's the thing.
But there's no controlling. Yeah.
Here's what I'll debate with that about as far as the bloodline goes. In kayfabe, it was all about protecting Roman. In the writers' room, it's like, how does this help Jimmy? How does this help Jay? How does this help Sammy? How does this
Yes,
help Paul
they
Heyman?
all got more
So
TV time, but a
in
lot of
in real
times
life, because okay, what do I say? I still go back and I still say that Jay should have been the one to beat Roman. I
yeah.
wouldn't hold that strong an opinion if they hadn't positioned Jay so strongly by telling the story that it was all about Roman. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's two different sides of the coin. In the
See, I'm
storyline,
talking
yes.
strictly kayfabe to start,
Oh, okay,
and,
got
like, it was all for Roman, and as
mhm.
we're Judgment Day, there's been leaders, but it's usually an all for one thing.
I was gonna say
So
the only Roman comparison you could make is Edge, and they got
yes,
rid of him
and they got rid of
relatively.
him very quickly. So now here's the kinda thing to it too, and the catalyst to getting rid of Edge was that mindset, was him taking over. And I like, the fact that when you look back, I was upset. I was like, "Oh, I can't believe they're turning him face so quick." They just turned him heel. But in hindsight, seeing how it all worked out and what was happening and how he was leaving and everything, I'm fine with, looking back. But here's the thing with Judgment Day. If you wanna talk non-kayfabe, the bloodline got everybody on TV, but they weren't presented equally. Roman was always ahead of the rest, and that does matter. Yes, the
Mhm.
Usos got a night of mania out of it, and they lost but still they were in a main event as a tag team of Mania. That's massive. And that was from the
But
bloodline and
turn
splitting off
turn
and all of
turn the
all of
turn the
that to
corner on
happen.
that. Turn the corner on that. Bloodline falls apart. Jey Uso, having survived the Judgment Day, goes on not only to have a singles match at WrestleMania, singles match against Gunther, who hasn't been beaten by very many people, to become the world champion.
Yeah, so have Gunther
That
lose.
might not have been the story of the Bloodline, but that comes out of the story of the
Yeah,
Bloodline.
it's another catalyst, thing
Very
that
much like
transpired because.
after Priest leaves and goes elsewhere and becomes, whatever you want to say that he is now. He had the rivalry with Aleister Black for way too long. That's why I think him coming back around in a tag team scenario and being in this thing with R-Truth, but coming up against Sammy and Aleister Black, I can almost see a borderline comical moment where Priest is looking at Black and saying, "Fuck, not you again."
Yeah.
Like that kind of like justified, frustrated baby face kind of
Yes.
thing is like a little extra arrow in the quiver for the Archer of Infamy of that tag team story. I'm a pathetically cheesy person.
No, but it
So
it it so works, and that was
it
at
was
the
really
at
good.
the yeah, at
Yeah.
the end of the day, it worked, and that was what a lot of people either failed to admit or failed to, accept, and that is the truth. I don't know why it's such an issue, but it has been, and
Mhm.
that lack of acknowledgement is very prevalent. Like they said, they'll acknowledge the OTC and everything that comes of that, but so why not acknowledge whatever. I think you
Yep.
could figure out why. But as you were saying with the Judgment Day, the story really was about the duo, Priest and Rhea Ripley. I feel like
Mhm.
they were more of the
A
Terror Twins,
unit.
but a unit. Yes, thank you. Than just
Yeah.
a single
Well,
force.
before we get on to Rhea Ripley, fucking star, wrapping up the Damian Priest thing, it'll be the silly question that I ask a bunch of times. Can we say that Damian Priest benefited from the Judgment Day? Quick thumbs up, quick thumbs down. Survey says.
I would have to absolutely. Survey says, yeah, it's on the board. Absolutely,
There we
we agree.
go. Show me a potato salad.
Yeah,
So now,
that's up there
as we
too.
as we go down the timeline, sort of kind of ish with my really, really scratchy notes, we move on to Backlash
Yes.
2022, when we're once again going head to head with AJ Styles. I think it's Edge's rematch against AJ Styles. Now we know that he's backed up by Damian Priest, and somebody else comes out in a black hoodie because black hoodies are on sale today.
Mm.
Uh, and we are joined on the other side. If Damian Priest is the right hand man, then we had the left hand woman. Pause. Rhea Ripley. Now,
See? Look at that.
what?
Pause.
As I say,
I I thought
the
this is
bullet
where we were in
points.
the story. My
Yeah,
misunderstanding.
yeah,
I jumped the gun a slight bit of a
that's
sentence,
okay.
but
That's
but yeah,
okay.
before we even get to Hell in a Cell, she is the newest stable member. She is individualized, but she's basically revealed as the masked individual. And lo and behold, it's a great addition because they teased
And
it well
she's
with the
healed because
purple
she
light.
dyed her hair black.
Yes.
She's healed because she dyed her hair black. Now, the
And
bullet
and she
points.
had a purple light in the background in
Of
several
course.
promos that was hinting towards her
Exactly.
joining. I love that little simple effect. got people
Because Rhea Ripley,
guessing on the
this
way.
is where I love the Judgment Day, and this is why I wanted to say that I am absolutely not saying that Judgment Day took a bunch of nobodies and turned them into stars. People got sick of me saying it as soon as Rhea Ripley got turned up to the main roster. She was in Mae Young Classic, she was in the second Mae Young Classic, she was in NXT UK, had an amazing triple threat feud with Toni Storm and Piper Niven.
She's never
Um,
not been in WrestleMania going for a title. Win, lose, draw,
exactly,
whatever, she's been there.
exactly.
But she was
But
not the Rhea Ripley star that we have today. She had it
exactly.
inside of her, but they didn't she needed to be molded and shaped. Just like prime example I always go to is Ethan Page. He
Mhm.
is nothing like he was on AEW because he was like a scared, timid
Because he
heel
was
there.
nothing in AEW.
But he didn't really find himself or his voice, and he said Sean really brought that out of him
Oh
here,
yeah.
and you can tell he's one of the best talkers they have now. Rhea was in the same boat. She struggled at promos quite a bit. She
Mhm.
wasn't bad, but you just knew the potential was there. You saw it. You saw it in the matches. You saw it in her feuds and her rivalries. It
Go
just
back and look go back and look at her in the first Mae Young Classic and the second Mae Young Classic.
yeah.
The first Mae Young Classic where she basically admitted, like, "I went in there basically like I was cosplaying as Charlotte Flair." Second
Yes.
one, she's got the short hair and a little bit more of the style that we know of her today. And I wanna make a point here because before the Judgment Day, she was NXT Women's Champion, NXT UK Women's Champion. She had a couple of different tag title reigns, one with Liv Morgan, one with Nikki ASH, if we remember that. God,
Yes.
all those were before the Judgment Day. But I
Yeah.
will say specifically, since the Judgment Day, she's been Raw Women's Champion. She's been the top of the Raw Women's division. She's won the Royal Rumble in 2023. She's been a tag champion again. She's been the Raw champion again, the world champion again. She's won the Chamber in 26, and she's going to what should be one of the main events at this year's
I
WrestleMania
think will
against
be
Jade
from
Cargill.
what we're hearing.
Yeah.
I've put out those feelers, and a lot of people are seeming to think that her and Jade are taking night one. But yeah, I mean, she never had believable confidence. You remember that amazing NXT? Come on. You know, they passed the titles and the torches around, and we always,
Mhm.
it's revered so highly between you and I for a reason. And Rhea, even then, wasn't confident. She didn't believe herself. You know, you could still see the anxiety weight on
Yeah.
her shoulders. And it wasn't until she dyed her hair black and the makeup and the goth look and she finally got to present herself like mommy, like how she wanted. The goth mommy with she wasn't wearing the fishnets and she finally got to go to Hot
Well, do you
Topic
know
and
what
go
it was?
shopping.
The one thing that kills me, and people will always say, "Oh, it's just because, guys wanna see a lot of skin and whatever." If you notice when she was in NXT UK, when she was in NXT, when she first came up to the main roster, she always wore long tights.
She had
And
pants
what
and a frickin' vest and
yeah,
maybe a midriff kinda thing going on, but
yeah.
rarely did she show much skin. Her
But
arms were the
under under
showcase.
the under the I don't wanna say Vince directly, but under, like, the Vince sort of regime or whatever, they were like, "We wanna present you as this friggin', like, not bombshell like a Trish Stratus, but like,
No.
you're out there, you're super fucking impressive, like, let's focus on that, the tattoos aren't so great." And then as soon as she got the okay, shortest fucking shorts, fishnet, the whole bit,
All of
and,
it.
you see her, like, she's been in interviews, she's, like, done, like, tattoo-related interviews.
Yeah.
Remember when there used to be a showcase on WWE.com, I don't
Yes, where
think
they
they do it
covered
anymore,
tattoos,
and I think it was, like, Think Inc. or something like that, like, they had
something
Rey
like that.
Mysterio on there and Randy
Yeah.
Orton on there, but I don't think they ever did Rhea Ripley, and the more that she was able to, show up, show off, and whatever, and, like, she talks about, like, her inspirations, like, I've finally gotten to sit down and watch some of the Terrifier movies, and when you watch Terrifier and then you watch her making her entrance, like, the mannerisms are, like, move for move almost. If you
Yeah.
see some of her tattoos, and some of them are the sidekicks of Oogie Boogie from, Nightmare Before Christmas,
Yeah.
and,
I
like,
see
how she's
WWE tattooed and WWE inked Know Your Tattoos. So it could
yeah.
be either one, but yes.
Either one of those, but no, like, she was able to, like no, she's not gonna come out and cosplay as a Nightmare Before Christmas character, but, like,
No.
throw it on the gear and, like, you don't have to say anything because if you know, you know, and if you don't know, then don't worry about it, but, like, holy
Exactly.
fuck. Knowing but, like, just ev and it's it's kayfabe, but it's also not. Like if you're in a faction with a bunch of people for this long, they're gonna become your friends, like your internal wrestling family and whatever. And
Yeah,
having people like literally and metaphorically behind you is gonna do that because nobody's gonna say that when she was in the Judgment Day, she wasn't the main character because she
exactly.
really was.
Yeah, and we knew that to be the case, so
But
repeatedly.
like even just so like look at all her accolades and
Yeah,
see that a good portion of half of them came after the like she's like world as soon as they revealed that like almost WCW looking world heavyweight championships for Raw, you knew that that was going to go around her waist eventually. She's been
exactly.
tag champs with a bunch of different people. Um just I know it's not a title, but to say that like she's either been at the top or above the top of the women's division in general, like you could book a world title feud and then on top of that book a Rhea Ripley feud, and the Rhea Ripley feud would be the bigger feud just
I
because it has Rhea Ripley in it. She's won the
absolutely.
Rumble, she won Chamber, and the fact that she's being tasked at this particular WrestleMania to sort of help along and solidify the next version of herself in a lot of ways in
Yes, you
Jade
you
Cargill.
nailed it on the head before, 'cause I don't wanna spend too long on this, but I know it's Judgment Day in a whole, but he genuinely went ahead and like you said, as soon as she got the okay, the first tattoo, her and Tony Storm, the timeless one, after
Mhm,
Evolution, the first Evolution pay-per-view got the date
mhm,
and, on their left arm.
mhm.
And that was
I
her
didn't know
first tattoo. She did not have any before then. So you think of now that how covered she is in tattoos. Like you
that. Mhm,
said, once she got that green light, she went for it. She knew what she wanted. She knew who she was. That's her. The blonde, uncovered, Barbie is not her, but that's who she thought everybody wanted her to be. And she
mhm.
was never able to be confident or comfortable. So she tried to bring out a little bit of that rocker, a little bit of that edge, but it was never really her. So Judgment
And you
Day
know what?
gave
Like
her
not okay.
purpose.
We don't know what it's like to be a young lady growing up in this world because neither one of us are, etc. And I don't want to be completely sappy for a second, but that exact struggle, how many people in the fans in the audience, the fans watching on TV, how many people does that struggle, that sort of coming out party, for lack of a better term, how many people does that talk to?
Yeah.
It's, it's huge.
That's
It's
incredible.
absolutely huge. Like we talk about a lot of the time when you talk about in any form of entertainment, not just wrestling, but you talk about the general topic of representation. And a lot of it, when you talk about representation, is on like gender lines or racial lines or minority lines or people not speaking English necessarily, which has gotten a lot better, quite frankly.
Yeah.
In TV shows, you start talking about like the LGBTQ representation and all that kind of thing. All of those are conversations to have, but just this like more general um I
This,
wish I could come
this,
up with I wish I could come up with a better comparison. The only comparison
yeah.
I can think of is Paige. When Paige
Yes.
came out as the anti-diva,
Yeah. But
who
having someone that isn't what the norm suggests. She's not a
that
Nikki
isn't a
Bella
Barbie doll.
type. Yes.
Let's
She's not
let's not use let's
plastic.
not use Nikki Bella. We have an awesome example in Tiffany Stratton. Let's not use Nikki Bella.
Perfect.
Fuck Amber Heard Bella.
It is Tiffy time.
It is exactly. But like they got so far away from the Barbie doll thing in WWE that when by the time Tiffy got there, she was able to use the Barbie doll thing as a gimmick, which I think is fantastic. It's fantastic for her, but it's a fantastic speaking for the world as a whole. If
Yeah,
you don't have
great
somebody
timing.
like if you don't have somebody like a Rhea Ripley, who's not particularly a Barbie doll, who is jacked and stacked, who isn't like going around all, I don't want to say this, but like all dainty and feminine and whatnot, does WWE look at somebody like a Piper Niven? Do they look at somebody like a Jade Cargill? Do they look at somebody like a Jordan Grace
I was just gonna say
to
that
see
that's someone they didn't consider before, and
if
Rhea
they
not
don't
only
see the
opened
success of
doors,
somebody
but
like Rhea Ripley?
Jade is another one, and so
Yep.
is, Raquel, and
Yep.
they've had these kind of like, "Oh, shit," they've been
The only
shown up
ones you can
several
think of
times.
really realistically speaking, the only other ones that were like sort of jacked and stacked that I can think of like throughout history, maybe you say Luna Vachon, maybe you say Jacqueline, but like China Beth Phoenix. And that's only 4 names as we're reaching back like what, 10, 20, 30 years?
What was that 8
You
foot woman they had on Tough Enough that got fired like week 1?
Oh, I don't
Are
know.
we counting her? Giselle or whatever?
I don't know. I don't know. Do we count Nicole Bass?
Mhm.
But
I
like
would. You smell
in
fish
the
from
br- but
here?
in the but in the brief time that somebody like a Rhea Ripley has taken off, you go
Yes.
on and you see these other, even I want to say like small, like she's not gigantic in stature, but somebody jacked and stacked like an Ivy Nile or a Zoe Stark wouldn't
Yeah.
have necessarily been the mold until you get somebody like Rhea Ripley breaking the fucking mold.
And I
And
also wanna say, like, Paige got her way through the door because of an AJ Lee. AJ Lee got her way
yeah,
through because like, there's always someone
because of
doing
Alita.
something
Yeah.
exactly. There's always someone doing
But even
something, and that's great.
but
That's what
even then,
it
like I
shouldn't
will
have to
say
be, but
people like AJ Lee, even today, I think AJ Lee's a knockout. Like, shoot me, right? Paige was
how dare
obviously
you?
like very like she was an alternative chick, but she was there and she was a hottie and she was like
Yes.
feminine in her own way. A lot of the stuff that Rhea Ripley gets accused of when people are like trying to pretend that she's not a knockout is, oh, she looks like a dude. I'm like, well, she doesn't.
Yeah, it's the
Like,
same thing, like,
let's be
"Oh, Trish Stratus is old." It's like, "What planet are you on that you're looking at this?" Like, somebody was saying that about the Pink Ranger the other day, and they posted, like, an
oh my
AI version
god.
of her being old, and everyone's
Uh,
like, "I'm not sure who that is, but this is what she really looks like," and I jumped on the bandwagon because it was funny, but catching strays,
fucking
my friend, all the time.
freaking
I
even you get something as removed from wrestling as the MMA returns of Gina Carano and Ronda Rousey coming out.
gonna
Oh
get me
well,
in
why are they
trouble.
going to fight? They're going to fight. They're old. I'm like, they'll kick the shit out of you, dude.
Gina
Like, what
came
are you
out
doing?
to the weigh-in and to the press conference in heels and a
Hmm?
dress, while Ronda was all, like, I don't wanna say guyed up, but you know what I mean? The
Yeah,
tomboyish,
she's
like,
a
ready for
tomboy.
a
Yeah, and
fight.
there's not and like
But that's what they're
hot take.
going for.
But
That's the roles. You're the
I don't care what
tomboy,
they're
I'm
going
the
for.
smoke show.
Hot take. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, but I love
Like,
that they're using Ronda's wrestling influence to really play up. Like, she used to do this at some of her press conferences, but she was never that enigmatic or charismatic to the point where now
no,
you could tell her time at WWE really helped her be more
yeah,
confident on the mic, just like Rhea Ripley found her confidence in
oh
Judgment
yeah,
Day. And she
oh yeah,
did so under the tutelage of Edge being there, of course. She said Edge really opened her mind because
oh yeah.
he went through a bunch of changes and looks and does all this stuff, and he's like, if you don't like you, no one's going to like you, was basically his
Mhm,
message. Like, if you don't go out there and believe in yourself, these fans are
yeah.
never, and it showed
Well,
because
this
her
this
and
is
Liv
where
being
like
together was cool, but it didn't matter. It didn't feel right.
this is where I will say like there is the common idea that Judgment Day kind of like skewed what they were a little bit away from like like the South Park goth kids hanging out behind the school
Yeah.
when Edge was there, and they went to like almost more of a gang mentality with a little bit of a darker like image to it rather than being like straight up goth kids. But
Yeah.
like Edge, Adam Copeland, I guess we're calling him now, is one of those guys that like when he does creative stuff for himself, he shoots like pretty far and sometimes it's cheesy as hell. Came out with the friggin' like disco ball looking thing for that one WrestleMania match. I'm
Yeah.
sure that was cool as shit in his head, and
Yeah. And then he had
he
the
looked
banana fingers, like, that was
he
Finn's
looked like a
thing.
disco he looked like a disco bobblehead doll
Yeah,
thing.
you wonder where
But
they get
here
the thing from with each other, like, you wonder how many times Finn was inspired by Edge,
but
because
somebody like an Edge, and he had the wings and like all the things with the
yeah,
big chair and all this. But you have to be somebody like Edge and to provide what this group did for other people that was started by Edge. You have to have a guy who was creative enough to be willing to go out there and do all those ideas that didn't work to find the ones that worked. So
yeah,
not to steal a line from another Canadian, but like even if you don't like everything that Edge did, it's a hell of a learning tree to sit under
exactly.
from a creative stance.
You
It's
had
like sitting under
Edge,
the it's like sitting under the learning tree of Dusty Rhodes if you want to be a good promo.
you nailed
Next
it.
person in line for that is position is probably going to be CM Punk. Let's be
Yeah.
real for a second.
Who are you gonna learn
But
from? CM Punk. Yeah, but you were right, though. Edge is, in the back with all the goth kids
Why
hanging
don't you just
out.
go back to your Justin Timberlake and your homework, you conformist asshole? You just don't know what real pain is.
He don't know where real pain is. It's on the
When you're wondering what's Jake looking for, well, why is Jake gone quiet for a second? It's because he's gone to find me a really good sound clip.
Yes,
But
I had to find the goth kids, but no, it's the truth, and that was no real pain, but that was Edge's whole point. Like,
mm,
open up before they even really got to explore what his mindset was for the Judgment Day. Well, uh,
he was out. Yeah.
yeah, uh,
Well, we'll talk about that in a second as well. But I will say the
yes,
one last thing that I will say about Rhea Ripley, regardless of where she is in the Judgment Day, out of the Judgment Day, what title position she's been in, whatever the case may be, it really says something that when they debuted Jade Cargill in the WWE, they put her face to face with a lot of. Remember when she was doing that whole like touring around? I don't know what brand I'm going to land on, and they
yes,
put her face to face with Charlotte Flair for a tease. They put her face to face with Becky Lynch for a tease. They stuck her with Naomi and Bianca Belair for what feels like forever. And people are sad they're not getting another round of it this year. And those people just need to be asked quietly and politely to leave. The one person that was on everybody's mind so much that they never had to have them come face to face to put it in the fans' mind because it was already there was Rhea Ripley. And
absolutely,
for her to be, I don't know what you call it, but for her to be established in that certain frame of mind in the fans' minds of you take one look at Jade Cargill and you go, well, yeah, fuck, she has to face Ripley.
exactly.
Like for that to be, if it wasn't your first answer, it was one of your first three answers when she dropped into the company, when she was surfing around and whatever. And I figured they were going to drop her on Raw right away. I figured the thing between her and
Yeah,
Ripley would be a foregone conclusion. But the other option is, oh well, Ripley's only there because Bianca Belair is injured, and Bianca Belair is the real story. The stuff with Bianca Belair, I looked it up before we came on today because I
yeah.
knew it would be a topic at some point. Jade has been involved with Bianca Belair and Naomi since March of 2024 when she joined them to be the third partner to face the three Kabuki Warriors at
Mm,
WrestleMania. So
yes.
going on more, or sorry, I should say almost 2 years. Can we drive it into the ground any harder? Or do we go with the hot hand? Do you go with one of the hottest, like, I mean, as far as fandom goes, whatever, one of the biggest stars in your company, male or female, who was one of the first minds that came, or one of the first names that came to mind when Jade Cargill first stepped foot in the company, because that is the match. Now, there's another women's match on the same WrestleMania card this year that's going to be the wrestling match. This
Yes,
is the star match. Do you
yes.
remember when we had the WrestleMania where it was CM Punk versus Chris Jericho? That was your wrestling match. And then I think John Cena, The Rock, maybe? It's like,
I
here's your
think
wrestling match.
so.
Here's your wrestling match. Here's your star power match, right? We
Yeah.
have the exact same congruence of two matches. Liv Morgan, who we're going to talk about later, versus Stephanie McMahon is going to be a great wrestling match. Stephanie or Jade Cargill, Rhea Ripley is going to be two gigantic stars beating the shit out of each other. And it's going to be the first time that the wrecking ball that we know as Rhea Ripley
Big
has,
meaty
first of all,
women slapping meat.
oh my goodness, slapping bacon curtains. Anyways, don't
Ah,
even worry about it.
roast
But
beef.
like, there's something about it because Rhea Ripley, like we said, like we've been saying, jacked and stacked, stands literally and figuratively head and shoulders over the rest of that roster.
Yeah.
The fact that she's got somebody that she can go punch for punch with and look eye to eye with is such a selling point for this person that is already one of your top 5 stars in the company. And I will say again, male or female.
You're
So
right.
I'll ask the same silly question.
Yes.
Did Rhea Ripley benefit from being in the Judgment Day?
No. She absolutely benefited from being in the Judgment Day. God damn it. She benefited more than possibly anybody, possibly even more than a few other members we'll discuss afterwards. Because when you really think about, you know, we'll discuss more, but even what Dominic did turning, he had to turn heel to
Mhm.
join, blah, blah. He could have been the same person possibly without Judgment Day. Maybe not entirely, but for the most part, I feel like he's got his, as where like yes they molded and helped him come out of that shell but for Rhea was a total change. It was a complete belief in self, opposite direction, going to do what I want to do finally. I tried it your way, now I'm going to do it my way. And her way made her the fucking star she always was, but just never got to
So
present.
that's
So
what
Judgment
I
Day,
say.
I
NXT
know, you
UK,
nailed it.
NXT, Mae Young Classic, Mae Young Classic 2, Raw, SmackDown, WrestleMania, Judgment Day, post Judgment Day, Rhea Ripley, fucking star.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of somebody who, in my opinion, should be a bigger fucking star than they are, and we've been waiting a long time, and we might be on the cusp of it, just saying. Because the problems with AJ Styles and the Judgment Day did go on and on and on, and eventually it
And on
was
and on and
versus
on and on and
Edge.
on.
On and on and on and on and on. And Edge had a partner, so AJ Styles went and got a partner, or so he thought, in Finn Balor. Finn Balor turned on AJ Styles to help the Judgment Day. And the same day that he was welcomed into the Judgment Day, as I say, the leader of the whole damn thing was asked politely and quietly to leave with a beatdown, and it was Raw on
A
June
beat
6th.
down? Oh, no, 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 no. That was not a beat down. You know better. Show me a concerto. That's right. They crippled this man. They made his brain explode on the other side of the chair. That's what should happen if you really hit that, you know? Like the few times it has landed, people have gotten severely concussed, like Christian. So realistically, they kicked him out of the group by scrambling his head.
But kind of a cool subversive thing to be like, oh, we're kicking Edge out. Who's your Edge replacement in this group? And it's Finn Balor. I don't know
no,
whether
they addressed it. They're like, no one, because Balor, they came out and Bianca Belair was doing the in ring work, and then they were like, hey, guess what? We have no leaders. It's all equality, baby. And they got rid of all like the spooky supernatural stuff and started going like they kept up with the goth aesthetic. They kept up with the look, but because they were really trying to go like supernatural with Edge's stuff. He wanted them to
Yep.
teleport and fucking summon fire, and he wanted to make a new ministry basically, which I was fine with and okay with. We need things like this. Just like we had the Wyatt Six forming in the background with Bray at one, close to around this time, 2023, he came back, right?
They're all wonderful. Yes. Anyways, moving
So,
swiftly.
yes, as you were saying.
So,
But yeah, I just wanted to reiterate because they did a great job, I thought, explaining of like
oh yeah, no, but this is one of those
Goths and
things which,
Bullets,
again,
Balor, Balor Club mixed with Bullet Club mixed with Judgment Day's original
yep.
1.0 makes
I just they went
2.0.
with the line that they had no leaders, they were a family, whatever the case may be. But as a visual to the fans,
Yes, Balor
we
was the de
we
facto
got rid
leader.
of Edge, but it's okay. We've got this guy. Well, whoever this guy in tight air quotes is better be big then. And you got Finn Balor, who was in a really interesting place at the time. You got Finn Balor, who had been incredibly successful in the NXT, or sorry, in the NXT, in NXT.
Yes.
He was treated well. Him tag teaming with Hideo Itami in NXT, him debuting the Demon successfully in NXT, coming up to the main roster for the first time and being what people not so nicely refer to as Smiley Finn,
Yes.
and that being dog shit to the point where um he went back to NXT, turned heel on DIY, I think, and became what myself and Black Cat Feline admirably referred to as Rockstar Douchebag Finn Balor, or the Balor Club, and all that type of thing. Reestablished himself, became NXT champion, I think for the second or third time. My memory is going to shit now. Came back, did the whole thing, pretending to be friends with AJ Styles, turned on him, joined the Judgment Day in the beatdown of Edge and the kicking out of Edge. And then I will say, like, as far as like honors go and whatever, not a whole lot. A lot of tag title stuff, a lot of like boosting up the other members of the group type stuff,
Absolutely.
a lot of hanging out in the clubhouse, having fun, being a dickhead heel, not at the top of anybody's pay-per-view thing, not banging out 5-star matches, but I will say it and I will say it again. He just looked like he was having a fucking good time, man. And that can't last forever. But like I say, a bunch of tag belts under his belt. Pause. And just before we saw him get kicked out, this week he's got 2 back-to-back World Heavyweight Championship matches, not only headlining Raw in his hometown, not only being one of the headliners of a huge build to WrestleMania pay-per-view in Elimination Chamber, but he's doing it against CM Punk. And whether you like and I'm going to say this quite a bit, whether or not you like CM Punk, if you're fighting CM Punk, you are in a higher level of conversation. It's just a
Absolutely.
thing. It's
It's
just a
how it
fact.
works.
He's come back around, and he's sort of like, I don't want to say like he was relaxing for a little bit within the Judgment Day. He kind of was, but it looks like now, as he was slowly turning face before they turned on him and turned him completely face, there's this feeling this year where Finn Balor has been sitting back for a little bit, and he's like put his work shoes back on.
Yes,
as far as bell
exactly.
to bell, going into the surprise match in Ireland was nice for the hometown crowd, obviously, but both him and CM Punk, because everybody was already looking forward to WrestleMania, went into Elimination Chamber with a lot to prove, and that was a really fun match. And I want to see them go at it again, and I want
Yeah.
to see him come off of whatever this current thing is, whatever the fallout is going to be between him and Dom, which was apparently supposed to happen at SummerSlam last year, but Judgment Day was so over, they kept them together longer. That was a story that I saw, I think, today on What Culture. They were like doing the finer details of, yeah, we were going to bring the Demon back at SummerSlam and da-da-da-da. No, you
Yeah.
save the return of the Demon. Do the Demon
That
right
makes
this
sense,
time.
but
Do the Demon right this time, first of all. Don't have
you
him
need
don't have
to.
him knocked off the top turnbuckle by God. That was a
Exactly. That
choice.
was
But if you're going to bring back the Demon properly, do it in something that's this deeply like rich in story and whatever, and like believable actual vengeance, rather than I'm facing Roman because he has a belt, which is a separate type of storyline. And you do take the story between him and Dom for as long as it's lasted, and you do make it a WrestleMania concern.
yes, exactly.
Like
Like
we're
at that
gonna
point,
watch.
make it work.
Spoiler alert: we're recording this on March 14th. The first leg of the AAA Rey de Reyes show is tonight. For all we know, as we're recording this right now, Finn might cost Dom the AAA title against Vikingo tonight.
Yes, it can happen.
Show me possibilities.
Yeah. Is it gonna happen? Hey, it's on the board.
The new tag team partner of Vikingo and Omos is babyface Finn Balor.
You know, there have been worse things. No, I mean, come on.
All
Let's
right,
see
so
how it goes.
a bit of a shorter conversation, a bit of a more hopeful, like, we just saw him leave the group this week, and we're going to see the post-Judgment Day trajectory as we go forward. But
Yeah,
Finn Balor, better off for his time in the Judgment Day?
I think so. Absolutely. I mean, where was he beforehand? Doing F all, really. And that was a huge problem because they just had him doing a whole lot of nothing. And the poor guy wasn't even like floating. He was just there to be beat. He never got another chance at the title he never lost. And they treated him as such. And I fail to understand why it was such an issue with him, but he never got to have what he deserved. So I feel like,
I still say, and it'll probably be the Raw belt. I don't see Finn Balor going to SmackDown anytime soon.
yeah, no, not at all.
I still see one of two things happening. Either, because I think, spoiler, I think Ripley's beating Jade Cargill, and that will mean that she ends up on SmackDown. But
Yes.
I do think you see a reunion of Finn, Priest, and Ripley as the OGs taking on the new Judgment Day at some, like, maybe Backlash or whatever, like as a spectacle type match. But past that, like, once Judgment Day is in the rearview mirror, I do think they belt up Finn before the end of the year.
Yeah,
And
exactly. So
I would not have been saying that this time last year.
no,
I would be
not
saying
at
like,
all.
oh, I would be saying like, oh, where do we see him in a year? Oh, he's probably going to be doing something fun. He's in the Judgment Day. They're always doing something really good and really fun. but normally he's making everybody around him look good. This is where the opposite happens. Like, you don't go to Judgment Day to get boosted. Sometimes your role in Judgment Day is boosting other people, and name a single person that Finn hasn't boosted just by working with them.
I just would have liked to have seen Finn take on Dom for the title. I think that would have been better in the overall story that they're telling, but I mean, it's not the biggest of consequences, certainly.
I think if we have,
What if he takes
instead of
the
a
mega
title,
championship? You know, hey, they
I
already have a
don't,
tournament to face him, but hey,
yeah, and that's going to be Santos. So Santos and Dominic versus Vikingo and Finn,
Finn
maybe. I don't
could
know.
be.
But no, sometime in over the course of the next year, you get the Judgment Day Originals versus Street Trash. Remember when
Ah,
Street Trash was a thing for like 5 seconds?
yes, so
But yeah,
stupid.
no, Finn. I really don't
I
want to
forgot about
slot
that.
Finn into that like Dolph Ziggler category of like he's never gonna get anything because he's way too good at making other people look good. But he's in danger. He was in danger, like I'd say, like even 2 or 3 months ago. But it looks like because if they're taking him out of the Judgment Day, they have to have some kind of plan for him.
Yeah,
A lot
they
of
should
people that
have
were like,
something ready.
after the beatdown that he got from Judgment Day kicking him out of the group, the amount of people, stupid people, I would say, on X and on other things, like, oh my god, I can't believe they're treating Finn this bad. I can't wait till we see Fergal Devitt is all elite. I'm like, well, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, you
Like,
completely missed the point there, huh?
how are the Rascals doing? Anyways, moving swiftly on before I get sad. Probably, probably one of the biggest success stories of the Judgment Day, as he sat back and watched Edge and his dad try to take on the Judgment Day, turned on them with a couple of kick in the pills.
Yeah.
Dominic Mysterio joins the Judgment Day at Clash in the Castle, turning on Rey, turning on Edge, joining the Judgment Day. Now, the bullet points before we get into the conversation, because there's a lot of conversation to be had. The bullet points for this are insane. Since joining the Judgment Day, IC champion, North American champion, the pairing with Rhea Ripley as a unit, let alone the Judgment Day as a whole.
Yeah.
Um, Dom versus Ray at WrestleMania, the fact that he's now the face of AAA as the mega champion, the fact that he was up until very recently a double champion across 2 different shows, the fact that while people still don't want to admit it, he's secretly, but not so secretly, gotten really fucking good.
You're not
Dominic
wrong.
Mysterio in the Judgment Day is fucking fantastic. The mullet madman, who's now, I think, running it by default, question
Yeah.
mark?
I mean, typically seems to be.
But he's fantastic, and I'd put him up against anybody now. Like, I
Yes.
really would. It's one of those, he's gonna face Finn at one point, and I've already said Finn goes on to be a world champion at some point. You might want to say that, oh, it doesn't really count because it's just AAA. Dom is a world champion right now.
Exactly. What do you
At,
mean
at,
that doesn't count? That's what kills
at,
me.
at least for the next couple of hours. Well, they said, oh, it didn't count when he went down to NXT and won the North American Championship
Yeah.
because they
So
wanted to have that.
ridiculous.
They wanted to have that image at WrestleMania, and I get it because like we always go back to the template of the Undisputed Era, the Conquest of Gold, like just the whole
Yes.
idea of a whole group standing there and everyone having a belt, and it was like he was the North American champ, and then him and Priest were, I think, still the tag champions, and Priest had just become the world champion. He was Money in the Bank. Rhea was a champion. Finn had something. Dominic had the North American championship. But it's I where do you start with Dominic Mysterio?
I
Because
know.
he was a, like you mentioned it earlier, he was a punchline
He was
before this.
nothing. He was only here because his dad used him as a partnership. You know, they bartered. We'll keep you. Okay. Well, the only way I'm staying and not going elsewhere, because Ray was part of All In as well. People forget
Mhm.
that. You know, he was partying with the Lucha Bros. So him and
How
Ciro
many members
Miedo
of
and
how many people that were at All In have now come up to the actual like big boy
and
company now?
Chelsea Green, and yeah, there's a ton that are there. So funny enough. Regardless, though, we
I'm a dickhead.
kept we
Fine.
kept Mysterio and got ourselves a Dominic. And then at first, he was a chubby, pudgy little, not great. He didn't have it.
He was coming out to Rey
And
Mysterio's music. He looked like he was about to pose for his high school class photo.
yes, he didn't have any build to him. Like, he wasn't even like, oh, he's super skinny like some of the Evolved guys right now, but they could get mass. Like, he just didn't have any type of wrestler look, feel. He wasn't able to really cut a promo. He sounded scared and timid on the mic. Nothing clicked. It was like I said before, the ultimate nepotism. He
Yep.
just was there because his dad was making him a thing. That's it.
Mhm. I think it's hilarious because I don't know whether it was you or whether it was our good friend Cody who asked me like, what's a better act, Dom and Rhea or Dom and Liv, who we're going to talk about in a second. And you can't compare the two of them because both Rhea and Liv came in at times where that's what the character needed. When he first came into the Judgment Day, and he, like you say, he was like timid little kid that doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
And you got, mommy there, like taking care of him and sort of like pushing him
Under her
around and
wing,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah,
Really
being
brings on
being
the
being
tutelage.
being China to his Eddie type of thing.
Yes.
Like
And people get
by the
mad
time he
with
got,
that comparison, but that's exactly what
it's
it
exactly what it was.
was.
It's exactly what
He
like.
was designed to be.
Look at his look, look at his mannerisms, look at his moveset, look at his gear. Tell me
Look
he's
at his
not
gifts. He
a
gifted them
live
the same things, the
a l
flowers and the hearts and all of it.
yeah. And that and see, that's a little bit more of the superficial thing, but like Dominic Mysterio as a character is a living tribute to Eddie Guerrero,
Oh, yeah, I'm saying from the
which is
looks on
fucking awesome.
downward,
Yeah,
he mimics
yeah.
every facet of the Guerrero
The fact that he
look
manages to pull
and
off the triple suplex and the frog splash and the shimmy and get the Eddie chant for a second and still turn it into heel arrogance at the same time is awesome. The way that kid, and I'm saying kid like a dickhead here, but the way he manipulates the crowd is always underappreciated. The fact that he was surprised by his own pop at WrestleMania and one of the camera techs had to say, "No, go back to the ring and soak it up,"
yeah,
is
they had to
fucking
go and
fantastic.
be
Like,
like,
he's that good, and I can't say this without sounding really, really condescending, but it's one of those, it's funny to see somebody who I don't think genuinely understands how good they are.
"No, absolutely." He's very, not narcissistic whatsoever. He's
Mhm.
very you can tell he's an introvert. He likes to keep to himself more. He's got a high school sweetheart that he married.
Yep. Oh, yeah, the whole idea that WWE is so abusive to Dominic Mysterio's wife by putting him on screen with all these, like, high high quality, high caliber star women in Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez and whatever. It's like, it's because he's also that high level, high quality, high level star, and stars associate with each other. It is what it is. Like, what are we doing here? His wife
Exactly.
and I don't know. I think it was one of the Hall of Fames or whatever, and it was like Buddy Murphy and Dominic Mysterio's wife were sat together at the show, and it was at the time where like Ripley and Dom were like still an act together, and it's like everybody's in on the joke. Like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Yes, but no, he's really, betraying his wife and betraying trust, and besides all that ridiculous bullshit, the fun
And he's
part
got the
of it.
typical nepo stuff that we talk about a lot,
Yes.
like from the fan point of view. Like, he's getting, and nobody will acknowledge it as much because there's a whole separate layer of bad criticism that somebody like a Charlotte Flair gets.
Yeah,
But like,
but he was getting some unfair criticism, but he needed a lot of
some
work,
of it was
and
fair as well.
exactly, and that's part of
Yeah,
the greatness of Mysterio is that we saw him grow in front
yeah.
of our eyes. No pause needed there. It's the truth. We saw him learn. We saw him become, what we thought not was impossible, but just certainly wasn't probable. Like, is he going to put
When
in
they
the
did it,
effort?
I
Are they
thought
going
it
to
was
give
the
him the
cheesiest.
time?
I thought it was the cheesiest thing at the time when he went to Ray's house and Ray had him arrested. And
Yes.
the very next episode of Monday Night Raw, they brought him out with the toque on, and he's just like
And
sat like a criminal. He's like, "Let me tell you about the hard time that I did." And I'm like, "Oh my god,
he
it's
ran
so
with it,
good.
and he had the
It's
entrance at
so
Mania because of
it's
it.
so tongue in cheek. Oh, the response, not the response, the way they tied it into WrestleMania with him coming in. He's got himself a luchador mask, even though he's handcuffed. Because what? But also Ray obviously coming in with the lowrider and all that kind of stuff. The thing is, storyline aside, for Dom and Ray, how cool is that WrestleMania moment? You can't replicate
Exactly.
that.
They got to celebrate and have fun.
Mhm.
Yeah, you know, and they actually knew. And they're like, "Oh, we're gonna play this up."
Yeah.
Um,
But the prison, like, everybody should understand that I'm a hard guy and I've done hard time. Pause. So they brought him out in a friggin' like a prison truck, and he's handcuffed and whatever they can. Like, you would figure them bringing out somebody like Abyss doing a Monsters Ball the way they
yeah.
brought out Dominic Mysterio for WrestleMania. But no, but the way that they built that, and the way that they leaned into there's a serious story here. This is going to be an awesome match, but
Yes.
also there is some ridiculousness, and let's lean into that as well.
And that's what
That's
you and I
why
love about wrestling, especially.
you can have both. Wrestling is the best thing you will ever see online. Not only the Jim Cornette talking about the two guys fighting at the side of the road, the other
Yes.
side of that conversation is, you must have seen it. The comedy clip, Wrestling Isn't Wrestling.
Yes.
Those two sides of the
Love
coin
that.
are why wrestling works. But I want to go back to
If you look at
something
my
we said a
favorite
second.
playlist on there, I have both of those actually in
Oh,
my
yeah.
my all-time
The
favorites.
Jim Cornette
And
thing, two guys on the
it's
side of the road, Jim Cornette
perfect
thing, is one of the
explanation.
best things I've ever seen. I've sent it to
Yes.
so many of my friends that don't watch wrestling when they say, "Oh my god, how do you still watch that stuff?" It's great. But
Because he
the
boils it
reason I
down to the most simplistic nature. And before you get out of this point, just
exactly.
simply the whole thing I'm saying here is that Dominic was smart to
Domino
lean into
Mysterio.
the dominoes. Well, that's what I was trying to say. He was smart to lean into the dominoes. The effect that was like the more he leaned into it, it fell upwards, but still it was like
Mm,
this cascading
mm.
effect of everything. So it was great to see continually the more he tried, the more it just succeeded even more. He was smart enough to
Dominic
know
has
they're
such
gonna
a
boo
cool
me.
character.
I have to let them boo me.
Dominic has such a cool character in this period of time where we know he's good at certain things,
Yeah.
and the stuff that he's not good at, he can lean into not being good at them, and it'll still be a character arc. It's the same conversation that you and I had a couple weeks ago about Solo Sikoa. They
Yeah.
realized that Solo Sikoa can't be the next Roman Reigns. So now
No.
Solo Sikoa's role is the guy that can't be the next Roman Reigns.
Yeah, and
And if you
it's something.
lean into it, it works. And with Dominic Mysterio joining the Judgment Day, even as he was getting better, he had to almost play a guy that didn't know what he was doing, and that's
Yeah,
hard. I
and
draw
he
the
had to be
comparison.
okay with getting booed because lesser people have been torn apart by
Oh, for
much
sure.
less before. That's hard to go out there and be drowned out to the
Mm.
point where nothing you say is ever picked up. They got those
Oh, exactly.
boos so loud they broke sound records. I mean, come on.
And when they couldn't stop him from getting booed, they leaned into the booze, and that's how you have to adjust. But the
That
other thing I
was what
want to
I'm
say,
saying is the smart
yeah,
adjustment.
and of course, I'm gonna make an NXT comparison here. Okay, now we have Hank and Tank in NXT, right? But before they were a tag team, remember when it was just Hank Ledger and he was like an NXT security guard that got in a fight and he wanted to actually go out into the ring and have a match with the guy that was fighting him. I don't even remember
Yes.
who it was, right?
I
But
don't
secretly,
either.
but secretly, he'd been on the indies, he'd been on Evolve, he knew how to wrestle, but he had to go out there and play a guy that didn't know how to wrestle.
Yeah, the Santino,
And
the
yeah, like,
Eugene, the
but
yeah.
like, how do you get trained up properly as a wrestler and hone all your instincts and whatever, and then go and play somebody that hasn't quite figured it out yet?
You
That's
mean
gotta
Shane
be hard.
McMahon? Oh.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
I love Shane,
People
but
hate that
still, the
guy.
worst
People hate
working
that guy
punches in the
so
world.
much.
I
Yeah,
love
but
Shane.
like,
I've always loved Shane,
but
so
he's there
they
to
could
be the
fuck off.
okay. Like we've said about Dominic, he's there to be the guy that's only there because of his dad.
Yep. And
And
he
the fact that
never
he's
needed to do any of the damn things he did. He could have floated by. He could have came
mm,
out every single night, cut a
mm,
promo, and walked away, and his dad would have let him.
mm,
Instead, you know what we got?
yeah.
The Hell in the Cells and the stage jumps and
Mm,
going through the glass with like he's put his body on the line for us, for his dad, to prove himself, all these different reasons. And he never had to. And guess who else did that? Dominic fucking Mysterio. See how I brought it
mhm.
back, sir? And
And
to
this
your
is why
point
this is
here,
why I go back to that comparison of who was better for Dom, Rhea, or Liv. You can't compare the two
no.
because Rhea had to be the one that had him sort of beside her as a pet because he was so lost and he so didn't know what he was doing and whatever. And he kind of did need somebody to, be mommy
Yes,
and sort of like
Rhea
tell him which
shaped
way to
him
go.
and Liv utilized him, I would
Liv,
say, like
but see, here's the thing though, right? Liv does use Dominic, but she does it in such a way as she's playing a Dominic fangirl.
yes, she's being a simp to
Whereas
Dom,
whereas
"Oh, girls
Dom
love Dominic," and
whereas Dom was almost a fangirl to Rhea.
yes, she's playing to
So you
his
can't compare
ego, so
them.
he chooses her. Yeah.
Yeah, so the reason you can't compare the two is because they're playing equal and opposite roles.
Yes,
Like,
he had to hunt down
this
Rhea to apologize, as we're with
yeah.
Liv,
I
she's doing
really
it to
like
him.
this orange, but you know what? This orange really sucks at being an apple. Like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
No offense. And as I said, I think that
I
was a
thought it was a
question that was
kumquat.
yeah. Pause. Like, no offense to our friend Cody, who's a really good guy, and he posed me a really good question, but I hope I've explained enough why I can't really answer the question. Apples and
Yeah, no,
oranges, literally.
but you did answer the question by not answering the question. That is a great answer because although it's not a common choice, people would pick one or the other. I say you can't. I mean, you can make a rhyme or reason either which way, but it doesn't really
Mm,
compensate or
mm.
correlate, more or
And
less.
if you think about it, both of Dominic's girls are fighting for titles at WrestleMania, so maybe a little bit of Dom dust.
Mm, it speaks
All right,
volumes. So as you
all right.
progress through with Dom here, I mean, that
Did he
was always the
benefit from
thing.
being in the Judgment Day?
I would say yes, abso-freaking-lutely, and here's the funny part about Judgment Day. I mean, they had a lot of different ins and outs and members but every single time they stuck to even when they had, like, Dom being the focal point, he wasn't the focal point, if you catch my
Hmm?
drift. Like, people in other parts had backstage segments. When they ran Monday Night Raw legitimately, like they were everywhere, it
Hmm.
was each one of them having some connecting story that was a throughput, but each part of them was involved in the narrative. You never saw where Finn, Damien, Dom, Rhea, each of them had something to contribute, to add a line, a match, like it was never about just one. And that continued to this
Here's
day.
something. I'm glad you brought up backstage segments because I knew I was going to forget this. Judgment Day as a whole like creates like little like sub realities for whoever they're dealing with at the time, whatever dynamic they need to create, whatever.
Yeah.
Think about this. A lot of people get interviewed in backstage areas. A lot of people have backstage confrontations in the backstage area, and we just get to know what the backstage area of every given building looks like. Every hallway, every interview area, every locker room, every whatever. The one thing that exists in every building they go to, the one thing that exists as a physical thing, as a physical place you can go, the Judgment Day Clubhouse is a thing.
Yes. And it's always with them. So do they set it up every time? Is it always there? Is it magic? It's kind of a interesting topic to
But like
consider.
you can let yourself believe in
Yes.
the fiction. Obviously, we're not idiots, but you can let yourself believe in the fiction
Yeah, we're
that
not idiots. We know that it's magic and it travels
the,
from show to show automatically.
the Judgment Day Clubhouse is something they fold up and put in their pocket and do at the next
Yeah, like
show. But
Ant-Man.
the fact that the Judgment Day Clubhouse is a thing and nobody really questions it. Like we talk again, I'm gonna reference NXT. Like it's kind of silly that there's actual students sitting in actual Chase U, right?
Yes,
It's
yes. Like
kind of
what are
silly.
you fucking learning? You know?
It's kind of silly that the family always finds their way to the Italian restaurant, right?
Yeah.
At this point, does anybody question like when we see a backstage segment and it's in the clubhouse? Does anybody question the clubhouse? It's like no, it's just where they are.
Yes. Even when
Right?
Carlito and everything that
Yep,
happened with R-Truth and
we're
all
gonna
of
get
it. I'm
we're
just
gonna get there,
saying,
but there's
encapsulating now,
before.
every bit of it always fit. No matter who was involved and as zany or wacky as it could be, it
Mhm.
made sense because they weren't their own world. They were their overarching universe. Like it was ever connecting. It was not like Iron Man and Thor. Like everybody had their no. It was already the Avengers. Does that make sense in a way? Like it
It was
had the
kind of like
connective
the first
tissue.
time they went to the clubhouse. You can imagine that the clubhouse has always existed.
Yes,
That's what I'm going.
that was our
For.
Stark Tower. That was our in universe.
Yes,
Everyone knew it was there, and now it's always there thing. Yes.
Fortress of Solitude, draped in purple. Now, before we get to two really fun names that you just mentioned, got to mention Little Finn.
Yes.
Brought up from NXT UK to NXT, and then finally to proper main roster WWE by basically like showing up in the background of Judgment Day segments for a heck of a long time. In real life, a student of Finn Balor, Jordan Devlin, JD McDonough, etc., basically joins them in late 2023 as Finn basically saying, "Yeah, this is JD. Let him in. He's a good guy," and whatever the case may be. He had to make the case to Damian Priest. They worked on this for several weeks. I do want to say ahead of time, Jordan Devlin in NXT UK was just relatively generic version of, okay, here's the serious wrestler guy that's going to break your fingers, break your ankles. This is around the time that I was really, myself personally, I was really enjoying like the Pete Dunnes of the world. Like let's do the joint manipulation. Every finger leads to a wrist, leads to an elbow, leads to a shoulder, like that kind of stuff. He did a little bit of that combined with a little bit of high flying as well, because he's a smaller guy. In NXT, they went a little far with it. They sort of started presenting him like a Dexter Psycho kind of guy, like constantly showing him with like pictures of x-rays of different joints and whatever, and let me tell you what I can do to you in this next match. Like they leaned a little too far, like evil movie villain with him, but nevertheless still a great guy to watch.
Regardless, still was fun. Like it we can acknowledge that it wasn't great. It didn't always work, but it wasn't miserable either.
It didn't hit for me, and I say
And
this
that's a
as
rarity because that's usually up our alley, but
it is.
It wasn't bad acting. Like you said, it was just
the kind of
overacting.
up our alley, but it's the kind of thing that would be up my alley, but it still has to work. Like there's silly stuff out there, but you still have to do silly properly.
There was two major, yes, absolutely, and there was two major things against it. One, location, the fact that it was in UK, because things were more serious, heavy hitting.
They didn't do the caricature stuff until he came to NXT proper.
No, but I'm saying the start of him there.
He was just like, here's a guy that's a good wrestler, and he very much looks like
so they presented him one way in NXT UK. So he's kind of a badass, but he's your every man foreign wrestler, and then all of a sudden now he's this deranged serial killer. So it's such a striking difference to know him from UK and people that have been on him. It really, it adds up.
They just sort of like said it right, like you could watch. I mean, it's sketchy to bring up somebody like a Chris Benoit these days, but you could watch an Angle Benoit match without the commentators having to tell you, hey, by the way, here's two guys that are really good at submissions. You had Jordan Devlin, who did that modified style of like a lot of like British strong style with the joint manipulation or whatever, working in a little bit of high flying stuff somewhere along the way without showing me him in his apartment like jerking off to like broken bone x-rays.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're putting a hat on a hat.
Then you deliver it as such an extreme when it's such a far cry from what you're used to. It really becomes like if it's so outlandish, then it's an impossible pill to swallow. Is basically what I was getting at.
You can have caricatures in wrestling, but when you've
that's
got
not
a guy,
a problem.
But when you've got a guy, and again, I'm going to make the Benoit comparison. Please, take the outside stuff out for a second. But what was Benoit's gimmick? He was just a really good fucking wrestler that could mess you up.
Exactly.
Right? And you could have had that with Jordan Devlin. He's a really good wrestler that can mess you up. But then they put this character on top of it, inserting extra character when it's not needed, when it is that rare occasion of a person that can just win you over bell to bell. It wasn't necessary. At the same time, it also created one of my favorite NXT wrestling matches of all time. When we had Jordan Devlin win what was then the WWE Cruiserweight Championship, rebranded the NXT Cruiserweight Championship, but then he was stuck at home because the world shut down. So they made the interim NXT Cruiserweight Champion, who was El Fantasmo, until he won the tournament and he unmasked and was revealed to be Santos Escobar.
Dun dun dun.
And the first time they were ever able to get JD McDonough back on American soil and they came face to face for the first time, it was one of the coolest things. And it was cool because it was so subtle, or not subtle, but subtle for WWE's standards. This is before Shawn Michaels was running NXT. This was two guys with the same belt face to face with each other, all of a sudden getting interrupted by Shawn Michaels' music. Shawn Michaels comes down to the ring, doesn't say anything, grabs a ladder from underneath the ring, throws it at them, and leaves. And then they go on to have a amazing ladder match for the undisputed NXT Cruiserweight Championship. Santos Escobar, Jordan Devlin, as he was known at the time, before he became JD McDonough.
Yeah. I wish more people could have
Character
seen
aside,
that.
Santos Escobar aside,
Character aside, what a fucking match, but
Exactly. So it's one of those, like, yeah, NXT kind of like over characterized him, but also it gave like one of the highlights of his career. And then he never really had a main roster life before Judgment Day, because he was brought onto the main roster as Finn Balor tried to like shine him up and like add him to the group type of thing. And then he just sort of proved himself from there. It's really funny because, again, like Finn, it's not somebody that's had a whole lot of individual success under the Judgment Day, but he's been a tag champion more than once. His in-ring work is he's the how do you want to say it? He's the reliable other body in the ring while somebody else's story is going on a lot of the time. Obviously his name got brought into prominence when he took that friggin' scary ass bump to the outside, hit
yes,
the
and
commentary table, and like
punctured his lung.
jammed his rib into his lung, and came back. And for a brief period of time after he came back, there was a lot of people that were giving him the whole like, holy fuck, that was nasty and welcome back type of thing.
Iron lung.
Yeah. And he worked it into his ring gear after that as well, which I thought was really cool.
Really smart. They
It is really
stopped
smart.
pushing into it. They should have made him where like, oh my God, he's dead in this match because of I have destroyed tissue from the clot that I had in my lung from the embolism.
But here's
So
the thing though, like, you don't think of him as being a main character in the Judgment Day, but when Dom turned on Finn, the immediate thought you had was JD McDonough standing between the two, and it's like, okay, which way does he go?
Exactly.
And the fact that JD took Dom's side suddenly becomes a huge part of the turn.
Yeah.
So
massive.
he's a what do you want to say, like a background manipulator type of character. He's never the person in the feud, but he's the key element in the feud.
He's very important somewhere.
When Judgment Day took Dominic Mysterio, yeah, they got another member of their group, but what they really did was take something away from Rey Mysterio.
You
And
nailed
then
it.
look what Dom became after that. So
Exactly. It wasn't so much at that time either. It wasn't done for Dom. It was done to torture Rey. Like that was the whole point.
They were,
So
even for, I would say, like the first couple of months of him being in the Judgment Day, he was just something they flaunted in front of Rey.
exactly. Rhea would come out and show him off like he was a prize one, not an actual wrestler that they cared for. And that was both funny and compelling because now you're like, well, shit. What are they just going to
You can
beat the
mold him
shit
into
out of
being a dickhead
Dom?
like us.
Or are they
But
going to, yeah, well, we weren't sure. Are they going to turn on Dom and make him, suffer for joining them? And how dare you actually turn on your father? We just wanted you to, that kind of thing. Like, what were we going to get? We couldn't,
And
we
it's
couldn't
so funny
always know.
because when Judgment Day was like at its hottest, because I wouldn't say it's at its hottest right now for sure. I would say their peak point was that picture that we talked about earlier, when Priest became the world champion and they were all standing up there. They all had belts and briefcases and everything, right? But
Yeah.
when at the time when they said, okay, these are all stars, they could all go their own way. Ripley can be a star on her own, Priest can be a star on her own, Finn can be a star on her own. And I would have said at the time, what does Dominic Mysterio do?
Mm-hmm.
Now, JD McDonough is kind of in that position of like, okay, they haven't broken up the Judgment Day, they've kicked Finn out.
Yeah, now
If the
it's a
Judgment Day
different thing.
disintegrated right now, I would have said, what do they do with JD? Because one of the things that I had predicted was you do Finn and JD as a tag team, because as a tag team, they work phenomenally. But then they started pushing Finn finally towards the world title again. So right now, if the Judgment Day breaks up, you've still got Dominic Mysterio and Liv as a twosome.
Yes.
Raquel and Roxanne probably go off as a tag team. Finn goes for the world title. What does JD do? So he's the odd man out if the group disappears tomorrow, but I still want to see what he does if the group
Yes.
disintegrates tomorrow. So
And it matters
he's,
too, and that's
he's a,
and
he's a
that's the thing
very
that people forget. It's like
he's a very important background piece.
everybody matters. Everybody means something somewhere, and that's
Mhm.
that's the creative being pushed in a proper way. When all of your talent are equally cared about, you have to know where they go, what they do, what they accomplish. Guess what? You're doing the right thing. Like you're doing it the right way, because the more you get people invested, the more people care, the bigger the return on everything is. The more people want to go and see them live and buy the merch and everything, all of it.
Let me ask you something, right? We're bummed that Dom's no longer the IC champion, and all due respect and congratulations to somebody like Penta. Penta,
Yeah,
who's going to show up tonight and present a sword to somebody.
I
But
was just
if
disappointed because it was 1 week build of Penta's announced, and then it really
oh
came down to the curse, not
yeah,
Penta. So
it's cursed, very nice, very evil.
very nice. I
But
like the curse
but if
part, but still, yeah.
but if Penta, okay, I know they're doing it to death on SmackDown, and congrats to Carmelo Hayes. But if Penta comes out and has an IC title open challenge and it gets answered by JD McDonough, the dynamic changes there, right?
Yes.
Because first of all, it's the first thing that JD McDonough is doing like for himself, not for the group. Second of all, it's a match I want to see. Third of
Mhm.
all, you can have Dom with him in the group. It's like, yeah, I once held that title. Congratulations to you. That means I can go to somewhere else. Like if Dom in his mind is delusional enough to be like, oh, I was CM Punk's first match when he came back to WWE. Maybe I should be the one to win the world title off of him. Then
Yeah.
if he if he's looking there, he can look at his last male teammate now in the Judgment Day and be like, okay, if I'm going to go for that, then I'm happy you've got the IC title. And they
Yes.
can go back to getting all the belts again.
And working as a unit in that regard. Yeah. So to
And also,
speak.
like, and also, like Penta, who's already doing amazing on the main roster, getting pulled into the Judgment Day vortex a little bit, gives him a little bit more prominence because if you're fighting the Judgment Day, that's a whole other story now, in addition to
Yes.
the fact that you're already a champion.
Mhm.
And I thought that they were going to do at one point Penta and Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio versus the Vision, but the Judgment Day has less injured members than the Vision.
Funny how that worked out too,
And we
huh?
can
I
just
mean,
and we can just keep up the ongoing running joke that WWE wants to team Penta with anybody but Rey Fenix.
but his brother, people keep asking, "When are you gonna be working with your brother?" And I'm like, "I think it will happen." They were going to do it, and then
They were
the
gonna do it at
injury
AAA and
happened,
then Penta got injured. But I think they
so
wanna
that shows they don't have a reluctance to do it. I think that, like I said, I like the idea. People are like, "How do they not build them together?" I'm like, "No, you don't debut them together." And plus, even if they were able to debut together, all the TK stuff aside, I still would
yeah,
have put them on separate
Guantanamo Bay.
shows, because then
Yep.
then you build to 2 debuts, then you get
Oh, yeah.
2, you know what I mean? Like, all of it is
You're
added
doing it all
extra.
right. And I don't want to turn everything into a marketing conversation, but it's a big conversation to do in wrestling. Yeah, if you
Yes.
like Rey Fenix, tune into SmackDown. If you like Penta, turn into Raw. If you want to see the Lucha Brothers, you better start watching AAA.
Yes.
Like how
That's, I
like how
think, what's the
that
purpose?
works. That works.
Because anybody watching for the Lucha Brothers or wanting to see them likely is or would watch AAA to do so. You get my
Oh
go-to
yeah.
there for it, so yeah, I think that was their
And I mean, once
set
TJP
purpose.
wins himself the Cruiserweight Championship, then we can have like Rey Fenix versus TJP for the Cruiserweight Championship. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Mm,
And then even if they don't become the tag team champions, they can both stand in the ring together as champions, a la Benoit and Guerrero at the end of WrestleMania 20.
yes.
Hey, what comes around is all around. So, JD
And
McDonough,
sticky. Ugh.
JD McDonough, better for being in the Judgment Day?
Abso-freaking-lutely.
Okay, I got
That's
two
a
guys.
decree.
I
I
got two
made that an
guys
order.
here that I'm basically gonna like compound into one entry because I think they basically served the same purpose.
Yeah.
I think they were the Sami Zayn in the bloodline of the Judgment Day
The
at
comedy.
various times. R Truth
Necessary.
and R Truth and Carlito.
Yep. and a very necessary comedy, and well
Mm.
executed, I will say as well. They always delivered, especially the unscripted stuff. That was fun. It was just a matter of them being able to be let off the leash per se. Like once that
Mhm.
happened, then they were off to the races.
And they weren't in a lot of matches.
No.
Um, R-Truth still had hair. Carlito still had a job. Uh, but they were just like bodies in a certain way.
Yeah.
The reason I wanted to bring up the clubhouse a second ago, you believe that the clubhouse is enough of a thing, or sorry, you have to believe that the clubhouse is enough of a thing to believe, Damian Priest walking into the clubhouse and seeing R-Truth and believing that he's angry as why the fuck is he in the clubhouse?
Yeah, exactly. Like
Like
that's the
that's what I
perfect.
mean. Like when I mentioned a second ago, like the clubhouse is a thing,
Yeah, why
and
are
you
you
believe,
mad and why are you here? That kind of.
yeah, you got powdered sugar all over everything, and we need a new TV.
Yes. And
And
so
Carlito,
simple, but
the
funny.
Carlito comeback, I got nothing against Carlito. I mean, come in, do almost no work, grab the bag. I'm happy for the guy, right?
Yeah.
But he came back. He came back as a surprise return at that same Puerto Rico show where Priest had the
Yes.
awesome match with Bad Bunny, and then he's sort of started
Just to
hanging
be a
out.
foil initially, and
Yeah,
then it was like,
just to
"Huh, this is
just to hang out
working."
just to hang out with the LWO initially, and then to turn on the LWO for reasons, and then
Mhm.
just like started wearing the same gear, but like black colored t-shirts instead of bright colored t-shirts.
Yeah.
And just the way even more than R-Truth, I would say, right? He was just sitting in the background while the group was falling apart.
Yeah.
Like if Roxanne and Dominic were fighting, or Dom and Liv were fighting, and he was watching in the background, like looking all wide eyes, like I think Dom's in trouble. Like
Yeah. But
he was
that's all
there to
you
give
needed.
those like funny like observer one liner type things, and it's like
Mhm.
and R-Truth was just a lot of fun when he came out with the plain black t-shirt that was like Rhea and Priest and Dom and Finn and then in the tape in the bottom
And
it said and
yeah.
R-Truth.
Yes. And
He
it
just
was
wants to
Dom
be
and
friends.
Nick, and all the little
Oh,
R-Truth isms.
Dom and Nick, yeah,
Yeah, the
was a
R-Truth
lot of fun.
isms that made it so much fun and, again, so simple in nature, but so joyous to have, like, that was it in a nutshell.
And these two together, the reason I have them together, it's why it makes me so hopeful when they debut a character like Danhausen.
Yes.
And the first people that he interacts with in backstage on Raw with Adam Pearce, when he gives him his like wet list of demands because it fell in the toilet, and
Toilet, yeah.
he wants to get out of the conversation. He's like, "Judgment Day, have you met Danhausen? Oh,
Yes, I need
do
a
it
drink.
all." He's like,
I like how
yeah,
everybody's like, "Oh, the Hogan and Andre of it all is Danhausen and R-Truth," and they're not wrong. Like,
oh
that
yeah,
that
for sure.
is
But
a
even the way that like if you watch the three of them react, and it's like what, like a 30-second segment.
yeah.
Is like Danhausen's doing his weird stuff, and Dom's all like, "Get your hands off my fucking
Yeah,
title."
don't touch my
And
title.
he doesn't know JD's name. He's like, "I already don't like this guy." Meanwhile, like Finn's just like, "Fucking love this guy." Like
Yeah,
the way they are now they're so established as a group that their immediate individual reactions to Danhausen is building
it
character
established
investment in
him night
Danhausen.
1. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And
Night
you
1,
want
he had fun with Adam
eh,
Pearce, but Danhausen mixing it with Judgment Day, because like you said, established stars, it's not just the GMs.
because
That was
Danhausen
massive.
versus Dominic Mysterio is going to be it's going to be silly, but it's going to be the kind of silly that people get behind because Dominic, who's already heel, has now gone more heel. So the more Danhausen can go in front, it's the same as what they're doing on SmackDown with the Miz. The more Danhausen pisses off the Miz, the more people will
Yeah,
like Danhausen because people want to see Miz get pissed off because Miz knows his role. Dominic Mysterio, not even in WWE half as long as the Miz, is already mizzing out.
exactly, and missing out indeed, and now that he's, gonna be triple cursed eventually, but
All right.
I'm sometimes simple, like, even if it's not a great story, as long as you have a story, and that's why, like, I see you enjoy the MFTs with
Mm.
the Wyatt Six, and, like, there's things to still bite on, like, some things are bad, but nothing is, like, horrifically terrible, and there were points in times where if it wasn't for the Judgment Day, I would say we had nothing at all. They were a highlight on
Oh yeah.
Raw consistently, and consistency was key. They were not just funny though. They were badass. They were funny. They were amusing. They were sexy. They were like they had every bit of everything that
And they had
you
such a
needed to
job to
see.
do. They had such a job to do for so long being the other group in
Yes.
WWE. In the time of the Bloodline, in the
Yes.
Bloodline era, if you wanna say
It
that,
was
what
Bloodline
used to
and not the Bloodline, and that's all there was to it. Like,
yeah,
you either were the Bloodline or you were not the Bloodline. Welcome to
yep.
WWE.
And because the Bloodline was mostly on SmackDown when they decided to actually pay attention to the brand split. So Raw was kind of Judgment Day's home, and it's like we can do this too. And there was more fun to be had. Like
Yes,
Bloodline,
absolutely.
Bloodline pre and post Sami Zayn.
Even with
Judgment
Sami
Day
Zayn, the
always
rest of them had to be serious. Sammy could be
oh yeah,
silly,
but Sami
and
changed the whole dynamic.
yes,
Judgment
he
Day
did.
always
They could
had with
all be, yeah.
whatever combination of people you had in the Judgment Day, even before you get into people like R-Truth and Carlito, you still had individual interactions that could be funny, individual interactions of this person said something that surprised this person. And you could believe at various points each character thought they were the leader. It was never like you mentioned way earlier in the pod, it was never like a cut in stone thing that Priest or Finn or now Dom, I
Rhea,
guess.
anybody, yeah,
Rhea,
was
yeah.
the controlling factor, yes.
But nobody. If somebody had said to you one day, like, "Oh, we got this clip of a backstage meeting," and somebody said, "Oh, the real leader of this group is Rhea Ripley," nobody would have batted an eye. Let's be
Nope.
real for a second.
But that's really awesome that that's even a possibility, and that's what
Of
I
course it is.
love
Yeah.
about
It's one of those, and again, I'm not standing on a weird soapbox, but it's another one of those things that just wouldn't have happened before.
no, but you're exactly right, and
Mhm.
that's really funny because it's true. You know what I mean? It's
It's fun.
one of those
I'm going
scenarios
back to
that this
Ripley
was
again,
not a
but we're gonna
possibility.
when we see the end of Rhea Ripley's career, which hopefully is not for a long time yet, there's really gonna be stock taken of the total impact that she had on WWE. Not just from a like what she was in the women's division, what doors she opened for the women's division, um, how big she was in a largely male faction, and so that has ripple effects in the men's division as well. Um, very much the case of like, oh, we wouldn't have smaller wrestlers these days if it wasn't for the Shawn Michaelses and the Rey Mysterios of the world. You wouldn't have, like we said earlier, you wouldn't have WWE specifically, because they have a type. Let's be real. You wouldn't have a Jade Cargill, an Ivy Nile, a Jordan Grace, people like that if Rhea Ripley hadn't come in and become such an undeniable fucking star. And
Oh, absolutely, that's so
so much
correct.
of that, this is where the one time where I'm actually going to take the focus off Judgment Day for a second. So much of that was under the heading of the Judgment Day, but like still her. And it's just, this is where I happen to be right now.
Because she eventually became larger than the Judgment Day, and they
Oh,
knew
for
it.
sure.
So, that was
For
also part
sure.
of it, like, she's in the Judgment Day, but the Judgment Day is in her? Pause? You
Pause.
get the point,
Oh,
you get the
well,
point.
one of them was kayfabe wise,
Yeah,
anyways. And maybe she was in him because Dom was not an appropriate name at the time.
yeah,
Anyway, but
probably, that seems to,
well,
yeah.
there was actually people in the early days of the Judgment Day that had T-shirts out there on like on the discount sites or whatever, and it was like
Yes.
Nick Mysterio. Like that's not on at all.
That's,
It's a kid's show. Let's
yeah.
go, let's go.
Who
So I
doesn't
never
love
really
that?
asked, but like R-Truth, Carlito collectively, and Danhausen in the future benefiting from the Judgment Day.
Absolutely.
Shall we pay a solid
All of them had something to gain, something to win, and they're all on the board.
and something to contribute to at the same
That
time?
too.
Very mutual thing.
It's all
So
on the board.
speaking of Rhea Ripley being the leader of the Judgment Day, let's talk about the day that both Ripley and Priest were excommunicated from the Judgment Day.
Yeah.
Looking forward to SummerSlam 2024, where not only did Finn turn on Priest, but Dominic turned on Rhea, joining Liv, making Liv part of the Judgment Day. Bullet points. women's tag champ, women's world champ in a proper way, not in the way that she fluked over Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
Much like Rhea Ripley, solidified as one of the mainstays and main eventers of the women's division, specifically on Raw. She won the Rumble this year. She's going to Mania. She's facing Stephanie Vacour in what I predict will be a fan-fucking-tastic match.
Oh, yeah. She's a fucking star, and that's all there is to say. She's
I
worked
think
very hard to
she's
get where
so
she
good.
is, and it's been a very difficult road, so I'm happy to see her succeed in such a way.
She's so good at, like, people say, like, oh, if they don't know what to do with a female character in the WWE, they just book her as being a bit crazy, which
Yeah.
WWE is guilty of. Like, they wanted AJ Lee to be literally in an asylum with Dean Ambrose. Like,
Yes.
that's not great. But,
No,
like, there's a lot of
but I
crazy
get
chicks
why
in
with the
WWE.
therapy and
But yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, but at the same time, somebody who's legitimately advocating for therapy
oh, I
doesn't get
I
to
truly
make fun
get
of
it.
the
I'm just
storyline.
saying,
I
yeah.
get it, yeah.
I
WWE
see
is
where
not
the
always
fucked up
great.
creative is coming
Yeah.
from, as always. They do
Yeah,
some nefarious
WWE's not
shit. And
always entirely great with those things. Whereas today you
no.
get, like we talked about with Ripley before, talking about anxiety, depression, self-confidence, and all
Yes.
those types of things, and having those conversations in the right way.
Let's make
But
it
then
worse.
you still have Liv, who's a combination of a little bit crazy and also a fangirl, and also like
The Mean
high school,
Girls
like a crazy
leader.
version of crazy. No, but she's like a crazy version of high school crush girl
Yeah.
as far as
Well,
it
that's
comes
what
to
I'm
like her.
saying. Like that Mean Girl
Like
has the burn book, all those type of things. Yeah.
the fact is, like they and Dom even talked about it. Yeah, I think they actually kissed on screen like once, but she's like, yeah, you'll notice that like. Yeah, me and Liv were close. Me and Ripley were close, but like we don't like sit there and make out on TV or anything
No,
like that
they do
because
like
he has
bunny
a partner
kisses
with.
or she'll
Yeah,
jump in his lap, but
but the funny
it's
thing is,
always respectful.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's the way she, okay, this is going to be a really awkward thing for me to explain. The way she hangs off of him without hanging off of him,
Yes.
if that makes sense. Like they're such a unit. Like if she wasn't a wrestler, you would believe her as his valet.
Exactly.
If he wasn't a wrestler, you would believe him as her manager. Like they've got such an
Yeah.
equal playing field that
Chemistry
they're
and
on.
yeah. They
Um,
she does that to whoever she's working with, where she makes them
yeah,
feel like it's a very natural thing for them to be working
she
together, and
does.
that's a
But at the
rare
same time
ability.
but at the same time, to the credit of both of them, I don't think she's had charisma, like or not charisma, but also chemistry is the word I'm
Yes.
looking for. Thank you, brain. We're an hour and a half in. This is going. Um, I don't think she's had chemistry with the other people as much as she's had with Dom. So
Yeah.
I gotta believe that
That's
behind
also
the
like a
scenes, they're like
time
pretty chill.
and
And
dedication thing too, because her and
yeah,
Rhea had chemistry. It just they both didn't have their characters yet, and by the time they
you know what team
reunited,
has
they were
you
ready
know
to
what's
kill
funny?
each other.
It's funny
What's
that
that?
you bring up Rhea Ripley again, because the chemistry that Liv and Dom have
Yes.
is kind of the same as the chemistry that Rhea and Io Sky have.
Yes.
The way they kind of hang on each other a little bit, make you question things,
Yeah.
make you think
But
that Buddy
it's
Murphy's
all
going
in
home and
the
having a real good
matter of
time.
friends because of what they're
Oh yeah.
yeah, because that's and that shows how respectful Liv is as well because she's,
Oh yeah.
she's showing you, "Hey,
There would have to be
we're an
such
item,
and
but they're
yeah.
married." Ah.
But, like, you think but, like, at the same time, like, the way people like, you mentioned it earlier, but, like, the way people wanna, like, blow this up is, "Oh, it's so disrespectful to his partner." Any person that's been in a movie or a TV show ever, like, if that was a thing, there wouldn't be movies and TV and, like, live shows and this and that and the next thing. Like,
Yes.
there's couples on TV. There's, like, people fucking in movies. There's, like, like so as much as it's like, yes, you do want to be respectful to the partners and whatever, you also have to find yourself a partner that understands, hey, I'm in this and I'm going to be playing a role, etc., etc., etc. But Dom is not where he was when he was doing the thing with Ripley. Liv is not where she was whenever she might have been partnered up with whoever. They're both hella confident in their place in the storyline, in the roles and whatever. And you gotta believe that they've got like a great working relationship backstage because you can't do stuff like that if you don't. It would show. There are
Absolutely.
actual couples that are couples in real life that don't have as much on-screen chemistry
But
as
that's the
Liv
thing
and
because it's
Dom.
very hard to convey what's typically private. That's what makes them both great
Yeah,
acting talents, and it
yeah,
just shows how
because they're not
comfortable she
fucking for
makes
real.
him. Yes, and that's very hard to have that relationship unless you have that relationship. And when you have it, it's hard to show because people keep it private. It's a very funny
Exactly.
thing.
So,
One
but
of the one of
this
the
is where I
TikToks that
say
went viral that I really love lately, that I was sent was so funny was a guy, he's an actor, and it starts off at first, I should say, the woman goes, "My husband kissed another woman tonight." And then he walks in, he immediately was like, "I'm so sorry." And she's like, "And how was she?" And he was like, "Very polite, very nice." And she's like, "Yeah." And then you see the thing, like, my husband's an actor. And then you figure out, it's like, oh, okay, he didn't cheat on her. But there he is massaging her feet. And he's like, "I feel so guilty," like being funny and cute about it.
mm,
But it was like a really like heartwarming thing to see, like, hey, it's normal to have worries and be jealous of people in their
yeah,
job, but to discuss it and treat it like it's a real thing and know that, hey, it's just work.
you just gotta go into it with eyes open, right? And it's like, okay, when
Or
you
wide shut.
I
Mm.
I would imagine that with stuff like this, there's a, "Hey, this is where we think we're gonna go with this story. Are you guys both okay with that?" And then people talk to their respective partners, and it's like, "Okay, maybe we steer it a different
'Cause
direction,"
they've had a
whatever
lot
the
of
case may be.
angles
Yeah,
even recently. I wish I could think of it off the top of my head, but there was one, and I was like, "Dear God," and they're like, "Yeah, no, we shot that down." And I'm like, "Obviously, it was
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
ridiculous as far as relationship stuff goes."
But, like, if you think about it as well, like, and I don't wanna take it down this route because it's not this, but, like, there's porn stars out there that are married, right?
That's what I was thought,
Like,
the woman was gonna be saying at first, and that happens too, where guys come home and it's
mm,
like it's just a job, but, they were
mm,
already in the job and you know how much money they make and it's a career and
yeah, and you
how
know
can
what
you
it is?
argue against it?
It's one of those, like, I couldn't, like, I'll be honest, I couldn't wrap my head around that entire, like, the porn star thing. Like,
Yeah,
if you're an actor and you're gonna go, go make out with somebody or whatever, like, whatever, porn star is a little bit different.
actors
I
do
couldn't wrap I could
sex work and
yeah,
scenes too,
yeah,
so that's
yeah,
difficult, and
and it's like, I probably couldn't wrap my head around that, I'm not gonna lie, but you found somebody that can, awesome.
her
The
head and
last
her
thing
legs.
the last thing that needs is somebody on the outside is like, "Are you sure you're okay with that?
Yeah,
You should
yeah.
be upset about that. You should feel how I want you to feel, not how you actually feel." Like, that's what the fans are doing, and it's
I
weird. Anyways, I think Liv's a fucking star.
let's see
I
giant pussy. Oh, it's not on the board. Sorry, we tried, but,
We need a buzzer like that in the audience. Um,
ah.
but no, you go back and I watched Liv Morgan. I think we did this the other day. A little bit of trivia for you. Liv Morgan debuted on NXT in a tag team match. Do you know who her tag
Mhm.
team partner was?
Oh, I forget now, and I just saw this not that long ago too,
Ember
sadly.
Moon.
Yes, yes,
And
and,
I
I
think it
was
was
like, "What a
oh,
what a
no, sorry.
trivia fact."
It wasn't her debut. It was when the Iconics first debuted as a tag team. Their first
Yes,
opponents were Liv Morgan
we're Liv Morgan,
and
and yeah, I saw
and
this being
let's see
passed
where
around
all
the
the
other day.
there's,
Liv
yeah,
debuted with, it was the early NXT time,
yeah, she was like the Jersey, like, almost
yes,
sportsy type chick, and she had that really annoying music that eventually just, like, everybody got okay with. But think about that as a match for a second, like, as a moment in history, right?
yes,
Liv Morgan, Ember Moon, the Iconics.
yeah, because she was
Liv
first
Morgan's
Marley, you're right, and then she
yeah,
became Liv
Liv Morgan's
Morgan.
going to WrestleMania to face the women's world champion in front of the biggest audience that any show is gonna have this year. The inspiration are buried on Collision, and Athena is dying a death in ROH.
Hmm.
The cream of the crop. Nobody does it better. Oh
It
yeah, dig it.
rises.
So, Liv Morgan, think she benefited from being in the Judgment Day?
I I'm not so sure. I have to consult the board, yes? Oh, it's up there. Look at that. We're almost on to fast money.
And if Liv Morgan isn't raising herself up, she's raising other people up because
Exactly.
in the aftermath of Ripley and Priest being excommunicated from the Judgment Day, we obviously had to have the Rhea versus Liv match with Dominic in a shark cage for
Yes.
reasons. And when you're fighting somebody big, you bring in big help. Liv brings back an old friend in Raquel Rodriguez, joining Liv,
Who?
Finn, Dom, and JD.
Oh, Gonzalez. Gotcha. Thought it was. Oh, no. Rodriguez. Gotcha. I keep getting that
Spanish
one
Rachel.
backwards.
Bad Blood 2024 pay-per-view only remembered really for one match, but it's okay. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yes.
Raquel is one of those ones that I'm really going to throw the conversation more over to you. I still stick to my thoughts of she's got a really interesting story of struggle and whatever in her personal life. As far as a wrestler, she's gotten a hell of a lot better, and I'm still going to stick with I really wish I cared more. But
I'm not against that. Like,
she's
yeah,
prominently featured. All that's
you figure all the matches she's had so far, everything that she's been through, endured, and had to go through, and none of it is compelling. It like I can think of so many highlights in the last year with her. Night of Champions going off the table with the Riptide facing Stephanie, then the MSG street fight, like all these things stand out in ways. The tag titles, winning with Liv and defending it with Rox, and what do you get though? I never cared if she won or lost, and that's the thing here, and I'm not sure really what's missing because I do like Roxanne Perez. I enjoy Liv Morgan. I don't know if it's because they never pulled the trigger with Raquel Rodriguez. You know, it's like she's gonna win, but then she doesn't, and they
I
let her
think
get
she's
beat
great.
so
I'm
many
sorry,
times. How can you have
it's
a
such
big
a
woman that
default.
gets beat all the time? So,
It's such a default to go to the Shawn Michaels Diesel comparison, especially because of the advice she's been getting from Kevin Nash. But
hmm.
she's really good in that here's the star and I'll be their heavy, or here's the star and I'll be their tag team partner. She's
Yes, she's
amazing in that
never
role.
going to the dance.
She's never going to the dance, but the problem is that role is important. You can't say, "Oh, she's kind of just doing this for now until she gets something important to do." Like that is an important role.
Yes.
Like again, like if you're an
It's
orange,
not
be a
the
really cool
important
orange.
role though, right? Like that's
Yeah.
what's
We
really,
need we
in
need
my
to
eyes, keeping her
we need to
down.
raise the prominence of the tag team belts, which I think they've been trying to do this year, more than previous years, because oh, you had to settle for being in a tag team feud. Okay, look at we talked about Damian Priest and R-Truth at the beginning, which is something that still branches off from their time in the Judgment Day. I think it's going to be really cool to see what they do as a tag team. And I
Oh,
think
yeah.
it'll be really cool if they unseat the MFTs as tag team champions and go into WrestleMania, possibly facing heel Sami Zayn and Aleister Black,
That'd be really
repeating from the
cool.
beginning of the pod now, right?
Mm.
But it's oh, they won't push her, they'll just put her in a tag team. Well, if you're in a tag team and they give you tag team gold,
Is that
then
not
that's
being
a push.
pushed?
That's
Yeah.
a push. Like, I'm
People,
sorry,
devalue the tag teams and tag team titles so much that that's what breaks my heart
they
because I
devalue
grew up
tag team
loving
wrestling so
tag team
much.
wrestling.
It's so funny to me.
Mm.
And for once, I'm not even saying this as a dig at AEW, but AEW, that two of the four guys that founded AEW are a prominent tag team in the Young Bucks, even though I don't like them. And they were the ones that said, we're going to put tag team wrestling back on the map. But yet those same people and those same fans will look at WWE to take a shot at WWE and be like, oh my God, they've got this great star. Why would they relegate them to the tag team division? Because it's only a relegation if you see it as a relegation.
Big fucking exactly. It's not a relegation. It's not tag team wrestling should be so much bigger
Is Road Warrior
than
Hawk
what
any
it
less
is.
of a star because he's not Stone Cold Steve Austin?
That's why they had the Road Warrior pop. That's what it was there
Mhm,
for. And god damn this, it just kills me because I mean,
mhm.
I don't know why. I know why because Vince didn't like tag team wrestling and he thought it was a waste of
Money.
money and because he had to pay two wrestlers instead of
Yep.
one. You can get the same match out of two that he could out of one. So what was the point? And he just had a very piss poor attitude towards those guys. So in the long run, they got screwed and he made more money. Talk about
And
a
that's why
Vinceism.
the breakup of the tag team became like the staple storyline ever since the Rockers.
Yep. Because, hey, what else are we going to do with them? Have them wrestle
Mhm,
together? That's stupid.
mhm,
We need them to wrestle a little bit, then break up. And that's
mhm.
all Vince cared about.
Not everybody can have a barbershop window moment. But if
No,
somebody's really
but he
excellent
tried.
as it but if somebody's really excellent as a tag team wrestler, let them be a tag team wrestler. It's the one
No,
once again, I'm gonna throw to NXT. Do I take Stacks seriously as a contender for the NXT championship? Not right
no.
now. Maybe in the future. Who knows? But right now, no. What was I calling him a year ago, 2 years ago? He was the best hot tag on the brand.
Yep. And there's a lot of people that they've ignored and could have added things with the tag team titles, tag division. Look at the Dusty Classic and all that that produced.
Mhm.
And that's why FTR I liked when they first went to AEW. Then they became so pretentious about it and they couldn't have any fun. They couldn't do anything of note. They couldn't do anything that was worthy because tag team wrestling had to be super serious and focused and it lost any semblance of enjoyability that wasn't this has to be this way. And with them
Oh, show
being so
me wrestling that
controlling.
goes to AEW to die.
Ah, that's on them. No, it's on the board, but they
There
get
we
a
go.
strike too for killing tag team wrestling. Sorry, it's just how it works. Regardless, we
Anyways,
got
I
two
hope I
X's.
hope she either stays with Roxanne because we're going to talk about Roxanne in a second as well. She's injured at the
Yeah,
moment, which means Raquel basically gets to stand back and be the heavy. I'm sure she'll be involved in Liv versus Stephanie.
I
She'll
mean,
be
Liv
involved in
cost her
that main event.
twice. So,
Yeah, I don't know, but if her strength is in being somebody else's heavy, if her strength is in tag team wrestling, get her a solid, consistent tag team partner and belt her up
yeah, that's what's gonna
because
serve her best.
I'm sorry, if she doesn't have somebody else to bounce off of, she doesn't grab me as a character. And I want to
Never.
double down. I want to double down on what I've been saying for a long time. I know her real life story. Her real life story is a shambles, it sounds like, as far as all the physical stuff that she's been through and overcome. And as a human
Yeah,
being, I want to support that. I want to support her. Like I say, fellow human being to human being, you've been through a lot. You deserve the world. And in ring, I see her very
it's sad
openly
that you even have
talking.
to declare that because we know it's not real. It's people are portraying wrestlers on
It's
TV
true. But what I'm
and
saying is
but there's so many
there's a
people out there
reason.
that don't realize that, hey, this isn't real. This doesn't need to be a clarified thing. But nowadays it does. You have to be like,
It does.
hey, because I don't like the character, people think I don't like the person, and
Oh,
that really
I'm not
sucks.
doing that. I'm adding up,
I know
like,
you're not. I'm just saying in
I'm
general,
critiquing.
it's a sad state that we have to do
I
that.
guess I'm critiquing myself because there's kayfabe reasons and real reasons why I should like her and something just doesn't click. Real
Yeah.
life story sometimes comes into play, absolutely. In the ring, is she getting better, and is she being very open about the fact that, yes, I've gotten advice from guys like John Cena, guys like Kevin Nash, guys like The Undertaker,
And it shows.
who were the bigger guys in there. And is she improving? Absolutely. But that's her as a real person and her as a worker. What's missing is her as a character,
Yes.
and that's why she hasn't grabbed me. But I want to be invested in her. And I don't even like that, like, I don't care about her right now, but I want to care about her. I don't
Yeah.
think that would even exist if not for her placement in the Judgment Day. So
Absolutely.
it's a lower bar on the point of this whole podcast that we're trying to do here, but it still stays there as a bar. Does
Yes.
Raquel Rodriguez benefit from being in the Judgment Day?
She absolutely. She wouldn't be getting the TV time if she wasn't. She really wouldn't be competing for titles. Like all of it befalls upon her because of the Judgment Day connection every single time.
If she wasn't in the Judgment Day, and this is going to sound like a terrible comparison, if she wasn't in the Judgment Day, would she be another Natty? Would she just be
Absolutely. The person to beat.
somebody on the roster that you have a match with because the person you actually have a feud with is about to come down and interrupt?
Yes.
Would she be the larger body in the ring? Or now that she's working so well as a larger talent, would she be 2026 Big Show?
Either which way, I mean, Natty or it's still
Which
the
and
Big Show or Natty was
neither
the person to
and
beat.
and
They weren't.
and my point being is, like, that's not really a good comparison either.
No.
Like, Big Show had a role at a certain time in his career where it's like, "Oh, how do I prove I'm ready to go fight the champion? I'm gonna go fight the giant first."
Yeah.
Well, okay. So if she wasn't in the Judgment Day and had no connection to Liv Morgan, I've got this match coming up with Stephanie Vacour. Let me go show that I can beat up a giant, and it happens to
Yep.
be Raquel Rodriguez.
And
That's
that's
a
the role she's falling into kind of now, it feels like.
It's an important role, but at the same time, you wanna think that there is
There's
more.
more for her, yeah, and
And
that's
you
where
can
she's been at for some time now, and that's why I was so upset about Mania because it felt like had she beaten Stephanie, it wouldn't have hurt Stephanie had we known, A, Stephanie's already fucking injured. You beat the shit out of her multiple times, you beat the belt out of her broke the belt over her. blah, 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 blah. So if Stephanie lost in that match, now,
But we had to include the Bellas.
see, because you figured Nikki and Brie have to take precedence because realistically, Liv eliminated Raquel from the Rumble.
Mhm.
She then also cost her the title shot beforehand. Liv got replaced by Roxanne Perez. Liv got, and there was never anything done about any of it. Everybody over, I mean, the night of the Rumble, Liv wins, and Roxanne's, like, oh, we got to call Dom, and Liv's like, oh, I haven't seen Raquel yet, but then we see it on video. She's calling Dom with her, so like, the lies don't keep
I
up, and
get
it,
it, but it's one
yeah,
of those things as well. And what do I keep saying? We keep mentioning the bloodline in comparison because it's the closest comparison to the Judgment Day.
yeah,
I will still fight for the fact that storyline wise, it would have made sense for Jay to bring down Roman. I still
yeah,
stick to that, right?
absolutely.
But every day of the week and twice on Sundays, am I gonna say that Jay versus Roman is a bigger match than Cody versus Roman? I can't do that
No,
because Cody's a bigger star than Jay is.
yeah.
Cody versus Roman. Cody coming back to the company because he deflected from AEW also added an extra step to that as well. Like
Yes.
I couldn't make the case other than it's literally a story argument. It's a bigger match.
But see,
And
we
I
already
have no
have our
problem.
bigger match in Jade and Rhea being that's the Rumble, or excuse me, that's the Chamber. That's the, you don't need a story because the Chamber is the story match. So now we have the Rumble match. Well, guess what? Had a ton of story on one side. And then the other side of it, it was like, oh, it's just the Rumble match. Well, that's what we got, her and Stephanie. It's just the Rumble match when it could have been this epic, meaningful, important thing. Her and Raquel, and now Judgment Day is splitting up anyways. So it could have been, does she take Dominic's side? There was so many layers and
They
options, and
they could,
they
but
could, but they won't.
Raquel versus Liv or Raquel versus Stephanie, neither one of them is going to be as big on the marquee. And I'm sorry, yes, it matters as Liv versus Stephanie. Stephanie's the new
Yeah.
hot thing.
But if that
Liv
match is
is
going on first or second, you already got Jade and Rhea as your main event night one. There's no harm, no
okay.
foul. You don't need
Here's the
multiple
thing.
marquee matchups.
Here's where I'll go with that, and it'll go back to Rhea Ripley, and it'll go back to all kinds of things. Everybody claiming that Rhea Ripley is a substitute for Bianca Belair. It should be Bianca. It should be Bianca. Roddy Raw. First of all, Bianca can't wrestle, so there's no should be anything because what you're saying is you want a person that's not cleared to wrestle to wrestle.
Yeah,
Secondly, yes, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill has more story, but guess what? Because she hasn't been there, she didn't win the Elimination Chamber. The Elimination Chamber is what literally is the story to get you to the match that we've all been booking in our heads for like 3 years. Now,
exactly.
go back to Rhea Ripley, or sorry, go back to Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, and it's another round of Jade Cargill being attached to Bianca Belair and Naomi since March 2024. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill is awesome because it's an awesome match, but it's also awesome because holy fuck,
It hasn't happened.
can we detach her from the umbilical cord that attaches her to nothing but Naomi and Bianca Belair?
Yeah. And because that's all we've had, like you said, and Jade's been
Because
in
it's
that
NXT.
vortex, her, Naomi, and Bianca, and then that was kind of it
But
forever.
I'm sorry, but I do say the same thing the other way. There's not as much, oh my God, we're repeating it, but like Liv, Raquel, Roxanne, who we're going to talk about in a second, they've all shared the same airspace for a long time. So Liv and Stephanie being in each other's orbit, maybe over the past 2 months or so, is fresh, is new. I'm sorry, there's not a single person out there, unless you are the most ardent Judgment Day fan out there, that's going to tell you that Raquel Rodriguez is a bigger star than Stephanie Vecchor.
Yeah. Oh, I
And
even
if you're a Liv
Cody,
fan,
even Cody agrees with that. I think it just came down to you already have one match where the whole story is the chamber. Why not have a match where you actually had not only a really compelling story, but it like you mentioned before, it played upon and was pivotal on the story changing for other people as well. You could have had Dom and Finn still. You could have had, like it didn't. It only added to and benefited other stories. It didn't take away
the
from.
other
So
thing is if
that
you
was the
split up the Judgment Day
question.
and you have Liv and Raquel, I don't think anybody knows who to cheer for, because I have to imagine that Raquel would be babyface, but people like Liv.
Well, see, that's the
Right
thing.
now,
Originally, the report was back at Night of Champions, they were splitting, and That was
Mhm.
all the way back when. And then everything happened between Dom getting injured and Liv getting injured and then Dom again. And so they held off forever. But all the way back in May and June, we were going to have this, and Finn was going to turn, and Dom and Liv were going to be the faces coming out of it. That was the original plan.
Well,
Raquel had
well,
Roxanne replace Liv.
Dom just went heel on other heels. So he literally did the Jericho Kevin
Yeah.
Owens Festival of Friendship. He went
Yeah.
heel on the heels.
Yeah, on the heels. So yeah, so he's staying heel, and Balor's going face now. So it's very muddied. But like you said, the fans want to cheer Liv. They don't want to boo Raquel, and they want to cheer Stephanie. They don't want to boo her. So it's already a difficult sell for a lot of fans.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think
All
they
I
would
know
have
is
booed Raquel and cheered
there's been a
Liv, and it
lot
would
of
have been
people that have been
fine.
cheering for Liv Morgan since before the rest of the world caught on.
Yeah,
Like around the time where she was like the booking wasn't great. Liv Morgan um winning the title off of Ronda Rousey would have been great if it wasn't presented as a fluke. You know what I mean?
exactly.
Because it's like, okay, you lucked your way into a title, and it's like, okay, now she's going proper. Now she's won titles properly. Now she's going to one of the hottest new talents to come into the company after deciding AEW wasn't for her, is like on fire right now, has Booker T like providing sound effects on commentary while she carries around that World Heavyweight Championship. Liv has won the Rumble and has a chance to go to WrestleMania to face that. Like for the fans of Liv Morgan herself, you want her to have not only the the title opportunity. It's like, would you rather be the WWE champion, or sorry, would you rather beat the WWE champion, or would you rather win the WWE championship off of John Cena?
Yeah.
So I get that people want to have that like internal Judgment Day story. There's still time to do that.
Oh, there's still time. It's
But
just so
I think we're more likely to
eh.
see a feud between Liv and Roxanne, where then
Yeah,
Raquel picks a side and
I'm
goes back into
sure.
that role of being the heavy. But
It just a
Raquel
lot of it
very
doesn't make sense, and that's what
eh,
sucks. They've made it confusing for no reason, and when you start to add all these plot holes in that never get any resolution or take years to achieve such, it takes you out of it.
but that's I think that's the assumption that a lot of people have, myself included. It's like, oh, if that didn't come to fruition at WrestleMania this year, exactly when I thought it was going to come to fruition, then it's not going to come to fruition. Like
No, it's less of that for me. It's more like why is Liv okay with any of it? Because you saw her openly betrayed when she got kicked out when she was injured. You know, she was replaced immediately by Roxanne. It was vocal on TV. Raquel pushed it. Finn didn't defend it. You know, he didn't defend Liv. Basically, he went for it. And the only one that was kind of in opposition for it for a while was Dom. And then he started eating her chicken tendies and being all cuddly too. So she came back and was like, Dom. And then that was it. We never
because
got any
she's come
payoff.
back and she's got her eyes on the belt. And if you're pursuing whoever holds the belt, which right now is Stephanie Vacour, you're not going to go and make additional enemies that are going to stand in your way while you're pursuing the title.
Perhaps. But
That's
there's
that's my
also
knee jerk reaction. Like
yeah,
I'm not saying that's going to be the reaction going forward, but
it
it's
seems
like
to be, but it just feels
if
very lacking and unlike
you
Liv,
got
the whole
me and
revenge tour.
if you got me and you and Guapo, and we're all in a faction together. And Cody's got the IWC title. I've come back from injury. I'm gonna set my sights on the IWC title, and I'm gonna go fight Cody. Why am I gonna start two fights with two of my friends while I'm going for the belt, where they could
No
become two of my
doubt.
enemies, whereas I could have people behind me? And
But
that's
there's ways to
a
do it
shitty
even for
IWC
the
comparison,
audience,
but yeah,
fourth wall breaks.
yeah,
There's ways
oh yeah.
to, you know, it just undermines her entire character and everything she's done before. The entire you know, comeuppance of hers was the revenge tour. That's what really, really essentially in 2024
Okay,
put
but the
her fully on the
Liv Morgan
map.
Revenge tour was her fucking with Rhea Ripley, though.
Yes,
If
but
you
that's kind of like been
But
her
here's the
brand
thing.
going forward. She fucks with whoever her
Do you
opponent is.
keep your friends close and your enemies closer? Is it more fun to like try and take on Roxanne and Raquel 2-on-1, or is it more fun to pretend that they're all in the same group, but yet parade around in that group as, look at me, I'm the only one that brought any gold to this group. That's interesting.
Yes. I just think you're daring to assume we're gonna get any of it. To me, it feels like they just went, "Eh, fuck it. Skip."
I think you're gonna get Liv versus Roxanne, and Raquel is gonna be on one of the sides. And as I say, like as the heavy, if we decide that her role as the heavy is better than her trying to be the main, then maybe that's just it.
Yeah, maybe they screw Liv at Mania like was originally said, but,
I mean, I would
um
watch that for the price of a pay-per-view, but
right?
anyways, moving swiftly on. Raquel benefits from being in the Judgment Day. Maybe
Which
it's a little on the borderline.
hey! Everybody benefits from being in Judgment Day, damn it.
And speaking of Liv being out with injury that led to her coming back and winning the Rumble and getting a great match at WrestleMania that we all agree on, of course. In her absence, Finn brings in Roxanne as sort of a wedge to the group. Roxanne was, I don't want to say a punchline, but it was a running gag for a while. Every time she had a match set up at a NXT pay-per-view, it's like, oh, well, she's going to lose that match because they have to call her up soon. She's awesome, and she's been the champion, and she did the whole like anxiety angle that was kind of weird. She teamed up with Cora Jade for a little bit, and we all got out our special socks, and she's done everything that she
Yes,
can do in
exactly,
NXT.
so
She's going to be called up soon, right? She's more than ready. She's got to be getting called up soon. And then she just randomly showed up in the clubhouse one day with Finn.
randomly while she was, still busy with NXT for a little while too, and she was still winning, It was like, oh, she's gonna hold on to that title too for quite some time
Oh yeah.
until, Julia and Stephanie decided no more, but
I think a lot like JD, more of my interest in Roxanne is in seeing what she does now, what her role is now in the current, I guess you say, iteration of the Judgment Day. When she
yeah.
comes back from injury, is she part of this iteration of the Judgment Day? Because the kicking out of Finn happened while she was gone.
Yeah, what if she sides with
So,
Finn and doesn't, anything is possible. I just hope that they actually pay attention to it and actually
mhm.
give us something
I
that
think
explains this.
for one thing, I think if you do Finn versus Dom at WrestleMania, and obviously Liv is at Dom's side, Roxanne makes her comeback at WrestleMania, even if it's just to make a save or have a scrap on the outside. She
Yeah.
still gets to be at least part of the match.
Yeah,
It's
and they have,
actually, I've just done the math. There is your match. Finn, Priest, Roxanne, and Rhea versus Dom, JD, Raquel, and Roxanne.
yeah, now numbers-wise,
Eight,
works out
eight,
perfectly.
8-person mixed tag match at like
Yeah.
Backlash. And I know it's sort of cliche to say that, oh, Backlash is just the Backlash from WrestleMania, but like that match, that 4-on-4 intergender match has Backlash written all over it, literally.
Exactly,
And
so
if you figure at that time, Damian Priest could be one half of the tag champions, Rhea Ripley could be a women's world champion, Liv Morgan could be a women's um women's world champion. There could be a lot of gold in what on its surface perceives to be just an exhibition intergender match. So
yeah.
Roxanne Perez only joined in May 9th of last year, hasn't been there that long, has been great, has featured herself especially well in multi-person matches. She was at the Elimination Chamber that I was at when they put the chamber in the dome, and it was kind of overshadowed by the John Cena heel turn, unfortunately. But she's
Just a little bit.
she's from being such a focal point in NXT to proving that she can be an important cog in the wheel in like multiple person situations. I really do want to see what she does coming out of WrestleMania, because if Liv doesn't win at Mania, which I think she will, on the record right now saying that, I think Stephanie Vacour Roxanne Perez is a really interesting match.
Yeah, I mean, that has a lot of interest to me over because we saw everything with Julia. They're 2 belts and there's a lot of intrigue from what we saw down in NXT. So, yeah, absolutely, sign me back up with that, but,
I mean, she can go the Willow Nightingale route and just hold two belts and have two matches a night.
yeah,
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
I'll take it, but Roxanne definitely benefits and still benefits from the group entirely. She's been able to earn her namesake just by being in the Judgment Day. That alone gave her quite the advantage. And then from there, she was able to back it up. even if she
It's
wasn't
very much like the
holding
JD
titles
thing
right
in
away.
the sense
She had great
of
matches.
it's very much like the JD thing in the sense of like they didn't waste any time like, oh, here's Roxanne making her debut on the main roster, and then they go on like a recruiting drive. Remember when in the early days of the Judgment Day when they would just go on like recruiting drives almost, and they tried to recruit people like Sami Zayn and like AJ Styles, which led to all the matches and whatever. And whereas now you take somebody like relatively unknown as far as the main roster goes for people that don't watch NXT, and it's almost an immediate like embellishing of them to have somebody like a Finn Balor be like, hey, she's here now, we should get her as part of our team, she could be an integral part. It's like immediate credit in the bank. And the fact that once again, the fact that the Judgment Day is something that can provide that credit in the bank is an indicator of how important the group has been as a whole.
Yeah. And I mean, that makes a big difference too. So you have to look
Roxanne is
at
a
it
lot more
always.
of the I can't wait to see what we will see from her, because it's not like some of the earlier entrants on this list
Being
that
already established and
have
having a
well that
namesake.
have been around a while. Like when we're talking about
Mhm.
Rhea Ripley joining back in 2022, it's 4 years ago now. So obviously, when I'm listing off her bullet points
Yeah,
and
and
even
she had 2
Finn
years
being
on the
the
main
opposite bullet point.
roster at that
So
point, couple of WrestleManias.
she's been in the main roster for a cup of coffee, so she's only been in the Judgment Day for a cup of coffee, but we know what she can do from her time in NXT, and it's
Yeah.
more of very much what I said a couple of times now with the JD McDonough comparison. It's very much what they can do going forward and possibly what they do post Judgment Day
Yeah, and
as
she
well.
has a great match consistently. So, I mean, we know what
Oh,
she's capable
wise, it's
of
not
and
ring wise, it's not even a question.
yeah,
Um, so I'll ask it for the last time. Silly question: does Roxanne benefit from being in the Judgment Day?
let's see. Ah, yes, indeed. No,
Go.
I mean, really, she does. She has already her immediate debut into the group, like, already gave her like a certified stamp of approval. You know, it
Yeah.
was a way to validate her name. It was her, her Twitter blue check, and it
Mhm.
made her seem credible right off the bat to people that didn't know who she was and was about to watch the pop rock star dominate. She's had great matches in singles competition. Then she went ahead and she did very well with the tag champ. And unfortunately, that was cut short due to silly reasons. I get Alexa and Charlotte getting the belts eventually, but still, I would like to have seen a little bit longer
I wouldn't
title
mind
reign from those
Roxanne.
two.
I don't know how they get to it, but I wouldn't mind Roxanne versus Alexa Bliss as a singles feud,
Absolutely.
because we always say like post Judgment Day, you can't assume that they all stay on Raw to fight each other after they leave each other. Some people are just going to go do it. Damian Priest is the best example of that. Damian Priest leaves the Judgment Day, they move him to SmackDown, and he's not at the top of the card for sure, but like he's standing on his own to the
Yes.
point now when Rhea Ripley's over there because she's got the Jade stuff going on. It's like old friends passing in the night type thing. Not,
Hmm.
oh my god, are they getting the Judgment Day back together?
Yeah. And
But
Alexa is an amalgamation of so many different versions of herself at this point that it's hard to theorize like
I,
exactly what she would be as a single star. Because I get
I
the
would love
point of
to
her as,
amalgamate myself with Alexa Bliss. It's fine, get rid of
yeah, like I totally get what they're going for with her as a tag partner, but everything else just feels a little less than stellar. It's certainly bizarre.
yeah.
I mean, it's not bad by any means. It's just not great. So,
Okay, so I've just named off. We've just been through a brief history of the Judgment Day, even though it's been like an hour and a half at least now. 10 names we've
220
gone
we're
through.
at.
Okay. Of all the 10 names that we've named so far, 5 of the 10 are featuring prominently at WrestleMania this year, or at least we can assume they are. Right?
Yes.
Liv's going for the title. Ripley's going for the title. Finn and Dom are probably facing each other. Priest is going for the tag team titles, it looks like. I'm going to say one last silly question before I run out of voice here.
Yeah.
Jake, have we made a moderate case here for the fact that the Judgment Day is a star factory?
Actually, I wouldn't say we did. I would say we made a stellar case as to why the Judgment Day is indeed the ultimate way to get yourself over as an act. I cannot, really state that enough. People kind of find it hard to fathom, but if you flash back to the beginning of this episode, I knew we had a lot of evidence to go through. I mean, we've got 4 solid years of proof of not just one, not just every single member. We went down the list, and every
Mhm.
single one of them have benefited majorly, not just in some minor,
Yep.
attitude or character change, or even merchandising and royalties alone. They said were great because the group did well with those avenues. And they're like, I didn't have, shirts selling before that. Once I was with the Judgment Day, even a simple little at the bottom of the shirt, guess what? Made me a ton of money. So are they able to and over themselves? We're going to fast money.
Nice. And it's funny because not everybody on the list has become a world champion. Not everybody on the list has main evented WrestleMania. Not everybody on the list is like super, super top tier. Next time they do a fictional draft, they'll be the first choice type of thing. But everybody found their place. As I say, Raquel's place might be as a heavy for somebody else. We don't know. JD McDonough, we haven't seen him really as a singles guy on the main roster as of yet. Dominic Mysterio, on the other side of the coin, when they picked him up from his dad, we thought that was going to be a running joke. And he's got
Yep.
more bullet points on this list since joining the Judgment Day than anybody else on the list. And we're talking about a list that includes Rhea Ripley.
Yeah.
So
Who would have
everybody,
thunk it?
not everybody here is a main eventer, but everybody that's even mildly passed through that mythical Judgment Day clubhouse has found their spot. And I think there's no other better measuring stick for how successful a group has been. And if what we've seen in the past 2 weeks on Raw is the end of the Judgment Day, that's 10
Not a
stars
bad
in
thing.
that's
Yeah.
10 stars in 6 years or in 4 years.
Mm-hmm. I
So
mean, that's
they've got
shield
a pretty
level for getting a
they've got a
group
pretty
that
good
gets
batting
everybody
they've got a
over.
pretty good batting average. Well, AEW ruined Mox, so let's
But no,
call it
hey, we're
let's call it 2
talking.
out of 3.
That's Moxley, not Ambrose,
That's absolutely true. Yeah,
Just like that would be
I
night
shouldn't
one,
use
not night
I
two
shouldn't use a
of
slave
Mania.
name.
Ah,
Anyways, but this has been a lot of fun. As I said, it's been
absolutely.
long overdue. The notes have been sitting on my desk forever. I knew this was going to be a long one. I'm trying to end this off before I completely run out of voice. Jake, tell them where to find you and what's up on your end.
You can find me on youtube.com/Jake DeMarco. Head over there for our WWE live reviews. We're also reviewing AEW live this Sunday if you happen to catch this beforehand. So check out our Revolution review or even afterwards because Spaz is doing his live hangout. So we'll be there for the
Yeah.
day chatting about it and we'll be live afterwards with our review. Find me on Twitter at Countdown Ended for show notes and any updates as well. And we'll be live all week with Road to WrestleMania content. So come check it out. And don't miss game night. Come win some prizes.
All right, and you guys know where to find me, or you wouldn't be here. I've been Spaz. This has been Jake. This is us telling you that the Judgment Day is the WWE's Star Factory. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye.